There's a high rent district.
It's a what? Well, and then the dock was for sale, and I said, how do you own a piece of floating wood? Like, and it was like, now it's worth $10.
We're ready, Mr. Supervisor, whenever you are. The
He's not
video is ready.
Okay.
My video just not live.
That means he's not ready.
Means he's not ready.
That's
Give me
okay.
3
Not
minutes,
time
it
yet.
says.
My video just.
Well, my computer says 6:02, so.
Your computer's
Mine
on.
says 5:59.
5:59.
And that
Okay,
says-
I will be overruled.
That says 5:58
In this
up there.
township, we go by Apple time.
Apple time, yes.
You had to throw that out there, didn't you?
Isn't that the better one? No?
I'm an Android user, so no. But it is something we affectionately go back and forth on.
Right. Everybody does. Yep.
We're going to call the meeting to order. This is our Bath Charter Township Board of Trustees meeting for Monday, June 16th. Welcome. Let's have the roll call, please.
Mr. Fuensbliss?
Here.
Ms. Butler Challenger here. Ms. Wilson?
Here.
Ms. Hagerman? Here. Ms. Kellerman?
Here.
Mr. Kotke?
Here.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, gang's all here again. Next up is a civic reflection. We'll start with a pledge of allegiance and follow with a moment of silence. So please stand if you're able to join us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and now a moment of silence. Thank you. And my thoughts today in my moment of silence are the Minnesota legislators that were attacked this week. Hope that my colleagues are keeping safe and keeping your eyes out. Next up is approval of the agenda. I think we have one change. Yes, Madam Superintendent.
Thank you,
Super
Supervisor.
Madam.
Fuensbliss, Super Madam. I like that. You have in front of you tonight a request from the Police Officer Labor Council, which represents the Police Patrol Unit and the Police Supervisory Unit, to continue the cap on the contribution to the pension. The request for the township to continue that cap through, I'm sorry, I don't see a. I'm sorry, in the last paragraph, you all have this in front of you. They're requesting a 1 month or longer at the board's discretion extension of that current resolution, paying the difference for the union. I would like to add that to unfinished business, items for discussion, wherever you choose to put that, whether it's A or C.
So 13, large A, small c,
Correct.
POLC request?
Yep, that's fine
When
by
did this
me.
come in?
Just this afternoon.
Okay. I didn't hear about any other changes. Are folks good with that one? Someone want to put that into motion form?
I'll make the motion to accept the agenda with the changes.
Second. You didn't have to finish that sentence.
All right. We have a motion to accept the agenda with the change that we've just mentioned. Any other discussion or questions? All right. Seeing none, we'll take a voice vote. All those in favor of approving the agenda as amended tonight, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we have an agenda. Board members, number 4 is disclosure of conflict of interest. Does anyone have a conflict of interest you would like to share? Hearing none, we'll move on. Item 5 is public statement 1. This is time for anyone in the audience to address the board for up to 3 minutes, designated for statements that are about topics on the agenda tonight. There will be an additional public statement at the end of the meeting with an additional 3 minutes for anyone to address the board on any topic they'd like to talk about. So if you have a topic that you would like to talk about that's on the agenda, please rise, take yourself up to the lectern, introduce yourself, and we'll start your 3 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name's Tim Fair. I'm the Director of Clinton County Catalyst. Clinton County Catalyst is about economic development in Clinton County. We help bring businesses, municipalities, education together to better our communities. We have over 100 members within Clinton County. Bath Township is a member of Catalyst. Space Cubed Storage Facility is a member of Catalyst. Kessler Development is a member of Catalyst. We found out that Space Cube desired to expand within Clinton County. They have a nice facility up in St. John's, and they desire to come to Bath Township. So we hooked up Space Cubed with Kessler Development. We have 16 townships in Clinton County. I'm sure you know that. Your planner, Miles Robler, I've worked with a lot of planners. He's one of the best. I really like Miles. He's really good and does well for the township. I've been on the DeWitt Township Planning Commission for over 15 years. During that time, we've approved several storage facilities. In fact, I called the township today to find out how many we have. We have 4 storage facilities in DeWitt Township, with the 5th already approved, getting ready to possibly be built. Each one of these storage facilities has at least 50 units. Some of them are close to 100. So we could say we have at least 300 storage units in DeWitt Township. Couple comments. Darrell Kessler, in my opinion, has been very good and bettered DeWitt Township, certainly over the years. Space Cube, if you've seen their facility up in St. John's, is one of the best facilities in not only St. John's, but certainly also in DeWitt. So I would suggest to you tonight, as you consider this proposal, this moratorium, that you let the market decide if there's too many storage units, and that you would stay the moratorium. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Tim. Other folks want to address the board on a topic on the agenda tonight?
Jeff D. and Dymaxion Development, owner of 7755 East Old M78, which is also a storage facility. I apologize, my allergies are acting up, so I can barely speak, so if you can't hear me, I'll try to get a little closer. But
I'm right there with him.
yeah, here to speak on item 14B, I believe, the self-storage moratorium. As the Planning Commission is aware, we proposed a project adjacent to our project between our storage facility and our retail development that's really a small business focused light industrial flex development. I'm not here to advocate for or against the moratorium. I think that's the township's decision to make. I'm just here to hopefully clarify that what we're intending to build is not self-storage categorically from a land use perspective, in my opinion. And I'm hoping that whatever the outcome of that is, that we, we're not involved in that directly. But I am here, and I'll make myself available if anybody does have questions about storage, as we do operate a facility in the township. Thank you.
Can we
Thanks,
ask
Jeff.
questions? Can I ask him a question? No? Oh, that's public comment. Yeah, never mind.
Maybe at that time, we could invite those folks up if we have
Yes.
questions. So.
Thank you.
Other public statements?
I'm Matt Albright with Space Cubed. We own the facility in St. John's that we built about a year ago. We're excited about expanding our business. Bath Township seems like the right opportunity for us. We met with Miles about 4 or 5 weeks ago for a pre-application meeting, which is kind of why some of the moratorium came as a surprise, being shortly after we met for a pre-app. That didn't come up during the pre-app, which I don't know if that was known at the time that the motion was going forward, but obviously that would potentially prohibit or at least postpone the expansion of our business, which we're concerned about, obviously. We look forward to more self-storage development. We believe there's a need for it. I think that looking at the moratorium language and the ordinance, it sounds like there's another development a little bit different use, but it's similar space, being proposed. I think that there's other mechanisms in place in the ordinance to review and control the different uses. And I would request that the moratorium not be acted upon, and maybe apply the ordinances and review process that's already in place.
Thank you, Matt. Does anyone else would like to address the board?
My name's Nick Kruger. I'm one of the owners of Space Cube. Currently, Bath was a good, I've been looking at some property here in Bath Township. We've been searching the area. It's probably been over a year that we've been looking for this property. A lot of time has been spent going into it. We want to make sure we do our due diligence at finding the right place and the right amount of storage that we can build that still the town that it takes up is not oversaturated. And we found that we do carry enough area to take on more storage. We've already started some of the engineering costs into this project. A lot of meetings have been dealt with Gerald Kessler. And this, if the moratorium goes through, it's probably gonna shut this project down. And we probably won't be able to move forward with it, so I asked for a stay on the moratorium.
Thank you, Nick. Other folks like to address the board?
Good evening, Judy Gardy, Friends of Park Lake. We're looking forward to our summer solstice celebration on Friday night. Hope you'll all be joining us. It's going to be a really nice, fun evening, and the weather's going to be perfect. Hope to see you all down there. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Judy.
Good evening. My name is Bill Krieger. I'm president of Veterans Archives. I've been a Bath Township resident for just about 10 years now. My wife was smart enough to buy a house in Bath Township and we've had her ever since. I served in the United States Navy for 10 years, the Michigan National Guard for 11 and a half years, and retired Army captain, and did serve a combat tour in Iraq in 2006. When I retired from the military, I put together a nonprofit for veterans, Veterans Archives. What we do is we sit down with veterans, we record their entire history, not just their time in the military, but the veterans' entire history. We provide them with a copy of it. I'd be happy to pass this around to everyone. They get a copy of their history in one of our boxes with our challenge coin inside. We also archive a copy. We have a YouTube channel. We also have a podcast where people can listen to these stories. We have interviewed everyone from 102-year-old World War II veterans right up through some of my peers who I actually served with. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. Every time we do one of these stories, it costs us about $250. We never charge a veteran for that. It's me and two other folks on our board, so if we don't have the money to do it, we still do it because I'll just pay for it out of my pocket. But this year, we're going to be hosting our very first golf outing at Berkshire Inn and Golf Club out in Williamston. We're going to have a raffle of some baskets. Unfortunately, the baskets add up to more than $500. So the state requires us to get a license to do that. And that is why we are on your agenda tonight. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them when that time comes around. I do have flyers for anyone who might be interested in a sponsorship or whole sponsorship or signing up for the golf outing itself. It'll be September 13th. Sign up is at 8 o'clock and the shotgun start at 9 o'clock. All right, thank you. And
thank you.
I wanted to also say thank you to Karen and the other members that I talked to on the phone because this really happened rather quickly and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Any other folks like to address the board today? All right, sounds like we are at the end. If you have other things you want to talk about, as I mentioned, there's another opportunity at the end of the meeting. And it doesn't matter whether it's on the agenda or any topic that you want to talk about. Item 6 is items from county, state, federal, and other agencies, and I understand we have Officer Cook here. You're not Officer Cook.
Here.
I'm excited to announce and introduce our newest officer, Officer Indiana, and his handler, Officer Royce Cook. Officer Cook's been with us for 3 years. He came to us from Eaton County. He's been a great addition. We're super proud of the job he's done so far. And he's done such a good job that he earned a new partner. So let's have him come up here real quick and just kind of explain the training that Indiana and you went through.
All excited.
A little excited.
He's pretty young.
Usually they start at about a year.
Yeah.
Hello. Again, Officer Royce Cook, Officer Indiana. We picked him up down in Pennsylvania from Shallow Creek Kennels back in the beginning of May. And at the beginning of June, we started the Oakland Canine Academy at OCC in Detroit. And we have certified Indiana over the course of 5-6 weeks in everything from building searches, vehicle searches. He's a 3500 or narcotics dog, but dual purpose. So he's also certified in tracking, article searches, pretty much everything we can use, or you can think to use him on the road for, he's got to use. In the 4 days that we've been on the road out of the academy, we've already had 2 deployments, one to Ionia County and one here in Clinton County. So it just kind of goes to show how important having a dog on the road is. If Ionia County can't find one, and we're the closest one. So having him on duty helped out that night. So I'm blessed to be in this position, and he's a great animal. He's great at home. He's been great with everybody here. So we look forward to seeing what else we can bring to the table. So.
Questions from the board?
I have just a general question. How many local police departments, municipal police departments have a dog on their team?
Generally, I think everybody in the area except for in the county. County has 2 currently. DeWitt Township doesn't have one. So within county, we have 3. Tri-county area, obviously you have LPD has quite a few, MSU has quite a few.
Pay attention.
So there are quite a few dogs. It's just as far as the scheduling goes. If when somebody needs one, it depends on what time of the day it is.
Oh, sure.
Shift, what, you know. So we'll hopefully be training with Lansing's training group. We kind of have that ball rolling on that, and they're fantastic. Everybody that's there is, I haven't heard anything negative out of that group. So
Right. How old is he?
he is just over a year.
That's what I figured.
So
I was kind of about a year and a half,
puppy.
yeah.
But he's gonna, obviously he's blowing his coat, he's grown into himself, so,
He'll get bigger.
he will get a little bit bigger, yes.
What's the breed?
He is a sable German Shepherd, no Malinois mix or anything like that. They just woke up, so.
He just woke up.
I have a German Shepherd, so I know.
When you get called out to a place like Ionia, is that just a service that we offer as part of mutual aid, or is there some sort of funding model?
I don't know about a funding model, I think it's more of a, when we need a dog, we've had to, if we didn't have a dog on, I know we requested a dog from Marshall one time, and that was seriously the closest dog.
Wow.
And that trooper got dressed for us and drove an hour and a half, if not more. To come and assist us on, I think it was a track, a B&E suspect that night. So, as far as funding wise, I'm not 100% sure, but I think we just assist when we can, and sometimes we can't. you know, if we're tied up,
Yeah.
we can deny that. I sure would like to, but
Does he do drugs and explosives or
no,
not explosives?
no. So dual purpose would be the 3500 narcotic, and then the other side of that is tracking article searches, building searches.
May I ask who the trainer is at Oakland?
The lead trainer is Brian DeBrecki.
Brian.
DeBrecki? Yep. He's, I believe, Southfield PD, but also task force with DEA. So, there's quite a few instructors that are either retired, they're on the 4th or 5th dog, and they help out with the academy, and it's a great academy. So,
Other questions? Well, welcome to the team, and thanks for taking this on. We're going to talk about this a little bit later in our agenda to talk about compensation, but the chief wanted to introduce our new team to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good job. Thank you, Andy.
I drive.
I see we have our commissioner here.
Yeah, Dwight Washington, Park Lake County Commissioner, and one of the, I think actually I was just gonna say, I was gonna bring you a joke and some humor. I still am working on that. But I'll be complimentary and say that as a commissioner, and people hear that I'm from Beth, all around the Tri-County region and sometimes beyond, to hear about our police department and their humor in the Facebook pages has been, you know, always like really comforting, and it makes me feel welcome and makes me think that's a great place to live. But to have a new addition, I think will bring further excitement to the counties in the area. And I look forward to Police Officer Indiana's new role here in the county, in this township. The work has been busy, and it's been strange again as a county commissioner, seeing how the federal government and the state government delegate funding and how that trickles down to the counties and the villages, townships, and that seeing that process has been very excruciating this time around. And it's got a lot of people concerned about really the social and human services that are out there. Fortunately, Clinton County does have the strong support of Tri-County and Clinton, Eaton, and Ingham, but also for our public health department that includes Gratiot and Stanton. So those three counties, have given us some flexibility in terms of getting our needs met. So we are in a lot better shape than other areas. And so the work is continuing to be done, and some projects are transitioning from last year, the spring, into the summer season, and as they're coming to, their work is being done, particularly on broadband, the roads, and even our parks. That is taking place, and we can expect some of those accomplishments to be finished in due time. One of the things about the parks master plan is being finished, and that should be out soon, so that will give us a new direction on where we are going with our parks. And there is still a desire to extend into the southern part of the county, but it's the monies are very tight right now, so the township or the county has taken a conservative position on their finances, as they typically do. Their goal is to maintain an operational flexibility where there's money available for the necessary needs of the county, particularly legislative and constitutional duties. So the county is trying to be very conservative. The county board is trying to be very conservative in how they are spending money, and again, thinking that we're in a valuable position and would like to stay that way compared to the other areas around here. Specifically with regards to Bath, it's happy that the Bath Township Library did apply for an opioid grant, and they will be receiving that. That's going to be conferred in the next couple of weeks. They'll be getting their money for that, and it presents an interesting opportunity for Bath and Bath Township Library to connect with people who have really been affected by practices that were designed to get them addicted and taking advantage of their own health and well-being. So there are partnerships with the Treatment RX, which is another opioid task force grant that was given, and Clinton County, or the Community Mental Health, which will be supporting them in those endeavors. And lastly, I'd just like to add that Friends of Park Lake is having a festival this Friday, and it would be great if people would show up to be there and enjoy the weather and enjoy the good times in the community.
Our dog might come too.
And that would be it. Thank you. Questions, comments, concerns? Until next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. That brings us to item 7, the consent agenda. We have some minutes of various committees. Would anyone like to put forward a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. With the consent agenda, we do not have discussion, so we'll move right into a roll call vote.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Kotke?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Thank you.
That brings us to item 8, approval of minutes, our minutes, the Board of Trustees meeting from June 2nd. Is that 2? Does that
Nope,
include
just one. Just one.
It doesn't include the closed session?
That was the week before,
Oh,
or the
it
meeting
was.
before, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve
God,
the
it feels
minutes
like it
of the
was just
meeting
2
of
weeks
June
ago.
2nd, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or questions? All right. Hearing none, we will take a voice vote. All those in favor of approval of the minutes from the Board of Trustees meeting of June 2nd, 2025, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next up is the approval of vouchers. Hopefully you all have reviewed the vouchers in the office and signed off on them. If you have not done so, please do so before you leave. Folks want to put this forward to action tonight?
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers as presented.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the vouchers as presented. Is there any other discussion, questions? Hearing none, we'll move to a roll call vote.
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Kotke?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Thank you.
That motion carries as well. Brings us to item 10, treasurer's report. We won't have a treasurer's report until next month. No committee appointments under number 11 and no township committee reports under number 12. That brings us to item 13, unfinished business. Items for introduction and discussion. Small A, Chandler Road project update from myself and the superintendent. Do you want to get us started, Madam Superintendent?
Thank you very much. I know this has been a project that's been on staff's, every couple of weeks, staff is meeting with the Clinton County Road Commission and the engineers, which is our engineers of Prine and Newhoff, and are working through the details of this project. I wanted to share a little bit of that with you tonight. I will be emailing you out the full report that was written by our engineers. There's a lot of just details that I don't want to give here, but I think are still important for all of you to hear. I know Ryan's going to talk a little bit about the funding, so I'll talk about the design. The concept design layout is completed for this project, which includes sanitary, storm drain, the Clinton County drain, which also is Ingham County drain, if I'm correct. Thank you. The path and the road. Preliminary permitting efforts related to the drain closure are underway and nearing completion. The sanitary sewer has been designed to be relocated within the roadbed. It currently is outside of the roadbed, and it makes more sense for all of us to have that within. And the relocation reduces the sanitary construction costs and makes future maintenance easier for the township and for SCUMA. Thank you, SCUMA. And what Ryan, I think, will be covering tonight is the cost estimate for the desired project exceeds the available funding and what was known from the initial efforts last fall. It's 16 million versus the 10 million that was allocated to us. Because of this and because of some of the financial challenges we are facing, this project has actually been postponed and will not occur in 2026 any longer. most likely will occur in 2027, but it's something that we will all continue to work on as we move through this. It's a very important project to all the parties involved in the Clinton County area. So we will continue work, but most likely will not be in 2026. So with that, I would turn that over to you, unless there are questions for me about the project.
So the project will not start in 2026 at all?
Correct.
But the engineering is complete or is being
We're getting
commenced?
there. We have some things to do, which Ryan will cover. But currently, our approach is reducing the scope of the desired project based on which funds are available and if there are funds available to us in other mechanisms. Today, we received word that the state revolving fund projects have been scored. Unfortunately, we scored very low. Highest project scored at 95. We scored at the bottom of 20. Several communities were at a 20, so, and that's with multiple projects were submitted by our engineering firm, so we're not likely to see any money from the state for this project.
So rather than ask for 16 million, we're gonna try to cut corners and get it under.
We've asked. I would have you hold that thought until Ryan covers his portion of this, because there have been several asks.
But I might forget before he gets
That's
done,
true,
so
I'll
that's
try
why
to
I
remind
wanted
you.
to-
Make a note. Thanks, Ryan.
Yep. So as we looked at this project at the beginning, it, I believe, was 2023 capital improvement plan numbers that were submitted to the state for the $10 million appropriation that we received, along with I'm using sort of the Queens we, it's really the Clinton County Road Commission, but for a project that includes the sewer and the road. So already using those numbers, they were behind, and now we're, 3 years about later, and it's $16 million. We met with Senator Singh, who was the sponsor of the project, last week.
Correct.
Talked about possibility of more money. This won't shock anybody, but there is no more money at the state level. The Fed money has completely dried up, and there's no sort of understanding of what's going to happen at the federal level right now until the budget passes. So we don't know how much money will come to us in the future as well. So there seems to be not an opportunity for us to cash in on more money from feds or state. So that leads us to what Karen was saying in scoping back the project. The challenge is we can only scope it back so more and still do so much and still do the project as intended. And I think, in my layman's opinion, we're very close to the edge here of making it a different project. Likelihood is we would scope back things like the trail, which is nice but not necessary. We've already scoped back the sewer project so that we wouldn't go as deep as we had originally intended, because that causes lots of costs and all sorts of things. It's sort of a domino effect later, which means we won't be able to shrink the number of lift stations to the numbers that we originally went for. So the project so far has been scaled back, and that isn't even touching the 16 million really that's wrapped into this. So where we landed was the senator encouraged us to think of this as a comprehensive regional project that includes the sewer and the road. And so we would look to scale back what we could with the sewer. The road commission would look back to see what they could scale back with the road. And hopefully we can come to something that is as close to the 10 million as possible, or each of us have to bring more money to the table. It seems from our conversations with the road commission that we have perhaps more ability to bring money to the table, not a ton of money, but we do have money in the sewer fund. The road commission does not seem to have a lot of loose change to add to this project. The real challenge in this is we push it back to 2027, that will likely increase the cost as well. So we're sort of chasing our own tail here by continuing to push it back. It increases the cost. We then look for money or scale back, and we push it back, and that increases the cost. So I'm hoping that we can find some money. I'm hoping that the road commission can be creative in this. But it doesn't look great, in my opinion, for this project, or it will be just a tremendously smaller project than we originally intended. Questions?
Question that arose just this instant was, do you know anything, this is a segue of the Chandler Road project. Do you know anything about the heavy equipment sitting on the proposed Chandler Road entrance exit ramps to I-69? I just went by there and there's heavy equipment sitting on that roughed-in.
You've reached beyond my
entrance ramp.
scope.
Okay, I just want to know if it was connected
Karen,
or.
do you know anything about?
I just looked to staff in the audience, and they're indicating they know nothing about that. I would also offer that during the funding conversation with the Clinton County Road Commission, we asked about the likelihood of that coming to the township, and their answer was no, it would not be coming to the township. So I don't know if MDOT is perhaps staging equipment for something else, or what's going on, but we do not have knowledge of why that is occurring.
Yeah, when I asked about it, they said, not in your lifetime. So, thank you.
And for people at home, that question comes up a lot. It was explained to us that the statute would have to be changed because of the on-off ramps in both Bath and then I think DeWitt. There's not enough room, thank you to both of you, for another on-ramp to be put there unless they change the distance between on-ramps. And that's the answer we received most recently from the Clinton County Road Commission, is that all the exits are too close together, and that would have to be changed in order for that to come to fruition. So there are multiple reasons. It's not that, you know, the township's opposed to it or anyone group's opposed to it. It's more of a statute specification issue.
Other questions? Al, no road questions?
I got a lot of them, but everything goes up in price no matter how, the longer you wait, and so, like you said, they're just chasing their tail.
That's one thing for sure. Prices are never gonna go down.
That's right.
This project to the Clinton County, in talking to us a little bit, did explain that we're not as going to be hit by tariffs or things of that nature, so we get a break in this because of some of that. The things that we're using, the materials, I don't know if Brad would concur with that, but are not subject to tariffs, so we are safe in that respect. Some jobs, they told us of a job recently that went up $400,000 just because of tariffs. We are not in that boat, and I appreciate that we are not in that boat, so there are some things working in our favor currently.
Any other questions, thoughts? We will keep you updated as that develops.
Yes.
Speaking of roads, can you give us an update on what's happening out here?
Thank you, and I know you all received the memo. I am, for some of the people at home, because they may not have seen this, I'm gonna go over it a little bit more than I might. Construction is on track per the original timeline. The Clinton County Road Commission and the contractor, which is Reith Riley, are currently in phase 3, which means Webster Road is closed from Drumheller to Clark, and the construction will continue through June and July. Phase 4 will start mid-July after phase 3 leveling course pavement is complete and reopened to traffic. Phase 4 is a mill and fill on Webster from I-69 to Drumheller, less impact than full-depth pavement removal in phase 3, but it does involve intermittent ramp closures on I-69. For Al, he, I'm sure, is very interested in this, the added paving of the downtown streets that the road committee and then the board approved earlier this year between Clark and Slate is tentatively scheduled for late June. It is a separate contract. It is not part of the Webster Road contract, but the contractor that is doing the work on Webster Road is also the contractor that will do this work. So they're hoping that they will get it done while they're paving Webster Road. Sidewalk construction for Kate, you asked this question at our last meeting, is 80% complete, and the remaining gaps on Slate Road should be poured in this week. And that was as of last week, so we will check on those unless staff has an idea of if those were completed. They're shaking their heads no. And then, being mid-construction, the Clinton County Road Commission could not give us a precise update on cost, but overall, they believe that we're within budget and there have been no major changes to this point, so budget is still looking good.
When I drove through today, that lamp post is still in the way of the sidewalks.
So that's waiting for consumers'
Yeah,
energy.
do you know anything about yeah, if you want to come. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the one apparently that needs to be relocated is still in that position.
Yeah, there's a problematic lamppost
close.
Yeah, there
We're
is.
working with Consumers Energy on it. Obviously, they're a large organization with a lot of red tape, more red tape than you would expect to move a pole 3 feet. Specifically, Jennifer has heard me talk about this pole quite a bit. Basically, with their timeline, that might be a situation where we pour right up to the pole. We just skip a 4-foot segment of concrete. We go through their bureaucratic process, we move it 3 feet, and we pour that at a later date.
Yeah.
We would pour around it, but then people would complain it would look weird forever, so we're just gonna do it the right way, it's just gonna take a little bit longer.
Beth, anything to add? No? Okay, thanks. Any additional questions?
I think the wall looks very nice out
It
here.
does look very nice.
It is,
We've received a lot of compliments on that
top
wall.
of the line.
Mhm. Yep, very nice, thank you.
Yeah, it's sharp. Any other questions? All right, that brings us to new item C, POLC request.
Do you want to kick this off? Certainly. Okay.
Good evening, members of the board. Nice to see you all again. Presented to you this evening, fairly late in the day. I know we normally would try to get these in your packet days in advance, but thankfully it's a short request. As you know, on your agenda this evening already are action items pertaining to non-union staff retirement plan changes. That has been part of an overarching goal of the township to try to get our arms around the existing significant potential, or the actual liabilities associated with your pension plan. In addition to the increasing and extraordinary costs associated with trying to keep up with that unfunded liability. So one of the steps that's in front of you this evening, and later, much later in your lengthy agenda, is several items pertaining to non-union staff being converted away from what we would call a traditional pension plan and something more like what we talked about last time, which functions like a 401k, but gets a different letter because you're a public employer. In that process, as you all know, we've also been doing a lot of studies with MERS to wrap our arms around what some options may be for proceeding with the union staff, because they have bargaining rights associated with their representation. And they have been, I think, very understanding of the fact that we really needed to get the non-union piece of this sorted first, because that involves moving out those liabilities to a different division so that it's all charting differently, which will ultimately impact the union staff in the sense that some of their contribution requirements will fundamentally come down because we're removing a lot of folks' own liability to a different division. But not so far as they would be remotely comfortable paying all of the current contribution levels, waiting for that to sort of sort itself out for January. So in conversation with the POLC representative, Mr. Scott Eager, who has been a very professional and collaborative partner in this process, he put together a request for your review. They have an initial proposal from us as of today. He is looking forward to having ongoing discussions about this on behalf of the two police units. And my sense is they would like to do so both via email and in person as quickly as possible, because they understand that this board has been, generous may not land well to the public's ears, but that you have been taking an action to support your quality of life and cost of living reflection of what it would be if the employees were carrying all of their cost. They would like to ask that you at least extend that resolution, maintaining their current pension contribution at something to the tune of 19.96%, for at least one more month, to allow for discussion. You can see, he said, or longer if you would like. But I think that we are now, with the changeover to the non-union staff that you are considering tonight, assuming that there aren't major changes to what I'm anticipating will occur tonight, I think you are now well positioned to fully engage in that conversation and make progress with your police unit. And so this is an ask from the Police Officers Labor Council on behalf of your employees in the PD. As Labor Council to you, I would ask you give this good consideration, because they have been partners in the process, as he has described. They've shared the cost in trying to ascertain what it would look like to make changes to their pension. And I think they are eager to just get some finality here themselves.
Between now and when we have this on the board for action, will you then engage in negotiations with them?
We are expecting that they could give us something via email. They can call me. We also discussed trying to get dates on likely in July. It sounds like calendars are fairly full for the remainder of June. This could still come to the board for action itself at your July 7 meeting, which will still be timely because the payroll for days worked in July, the majority of the days worked in July to that point will not run until later, so you have time to catch it before there's any payroll that goes by with them paying, for instance, the 27 or 28% that would be required for their contribution level.
Do we think a month would be long enough to negotiate?
So I think it depends on how quickly folks can get things, now they're gonna have to have some conversation amongst themselves, and how quickly we can get the exchanges going. Candidly, I think, at least through July is necessary in order to give that full faith effort, because we have holidays coming up and other people will be out for different reasons. What I don't want is to be back here in July asking for August. So, candidly, if I were telling you my druthers as a recommendation, I would like to see this run through August.
And I assume this will be seen in the negotiations as part of what we are giving.
Bringing to the table, yep.
Okay.
You know, certainly my expectation, as always, when you're talking about pension changes, is that the employees would still like the township to take on more of the contribution than you have existing prior to these resolutions. But I know, based on conversations, and even his written word, which he did of his own accord today, they recognize the generous steps that have been taken here, and they are appreciative of that.
Other questions?
This will, I'm sorry, Mr. Supervisor, this will, again, only include the police staff, because as of July 1, assuming the board doesn't have a dramatic change from prior conversation at this table, you will not have union staff in that anymore, and you will be carrying the cost for the non-union liabilities that have been frozen at that point. So you will, it is a lesser sum than has been previously taken on by this board.
And only actual officers are in this union, right?
Correct. Active command and road patrol or non-supervisory unit, yep.
Yeah?
What is the amount that we're considering here?
I don't know if I have that number, do you?
I don't have that number. I would have to calculate that for you for your next meeting.
We can certainly do that, though.
Yeah, maybe you could calculate it on a couple of different ways, 1 month, 2 months.
I can do that.
6 month, just so we have the data.
Okay, I can do that.
Any other questions?
I do know that when, we can't just have it keep going from month to month, because being the person who pays it, it takes MERS a couple weeks
Yeah.
to get everything put in. So there is time on, that we have to consider that also.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean, Madam Clerk.
When we approve a resolution and then I fax all the information over the next day, it usually takes them a couple weeks to catch up with that resolution.
Right. In the
So-
meantime, you could still forego any, you know, you could essentially process it the way that you are, rather than taking out additional sums, and then if we needed to later to true it up. But I understand
Actually,
that
we
they
have
are,
to wait till MERS makes their change.
they are,
And then,
we are at their mercy on occasion.
yes, we are.
Thank you for pointing that out, Brenda.
So would it be better to have a resolution come at the next board meeting for 2 months?
I think it would be.
I will
Because we
prepare
have
it
to
for
have the
2 months
information.
with the information, and then you can choose to change it if you want to modify it here.
But you'll give us the total so we would know.
Correct.
I will also note, unfortunately, I will be in the Alpena area doing bargaining myself on the date of your next meeting. I'm likely to be in the car and therefore maybe can listen in. And I did offer that David will be here, but I also can make Chad Karsten, who does this work alongside with me, to make him available in the audience if needed for any additional discussion on that subject. He would be up to speed and we can work on that together.
He speaks Lizzie.
He speaks Lizzie and MERS. It's a special trait, really.
All right, other questions, thoughts, discussion? Otherwise, we'll see this in 2 weeks.
Great, thank you.
That brings us to unfinished business items for action. This is where the real guts of our meeting is today. First up is the SCUMA operating budget and 5-year capital improvement plan. Brad is here, we've heard from him already, we've asked questions, so I'm going to say unless we have additional questions or he has additional information, that we can forego another presentation, is that fair?
Agreed.
Okay, how do we want to handle that budget then?
Make a recommendation to accept the 2026 operating budget and the 5-year capital improvement plan for the Southern Clinton County Municipal Utilities Authority.
Support.
We have a motion and a second to approve the budget and the CIP. Is there additional discussion, questions? And certainly Brad is here if we need clarification. All right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Kaki?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to the second SCUMA issue, which is our fund balance from Bath Township. It's somewhere over $100,000. I don't have the number in front of me. And the recommendation from the superintendent is to let that sit at SCUMA for projects that will come up.
Correct.
Is there any clarification you want to give to that, Karen?
$127,398.
Thank you. How are folks feeling about that? We've done both things in my time on the board, taken the money back and also kept the money there.
You're looking for a motion?
Please.
I would like to make the motion to go with superintendent's suggestion to let it sit. I think that's very prudent.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to keep the money at SCUMA for projects associated with Bath Township. Is there any other discussion or questions about that? All right, let's do another roll call vote.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Kaki?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Mr. Rosecrans? Whoops.
Yes.
You've already.
He got 2 votes?
I'm going off.
All right, thank you, Brad, for being here as well.
Enjoy your evening.
That brings us to item C, Peacock Road Tree Farm Class C liquor license application. Again, you heard the presentation 2 weeks ago. You heard from our guests who are back in the audience today. Unless we have further questions, clarifications, or anything has changed, I would say we forego a second presentation, but certainly have them at our disposal should we need that.
I'll make the motion to approve the local, what is that form?
Local government approval form?
The local government approval form for the Carpenter's Class C licenses.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there questions, discussion, concerns? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Kaki?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes.
Looks like we all need to head out to the farm for some
Yep.
Yeah.
drinks. Celebrate.
Get those weddings coming.
So the clerk and I will complete the form that's necessary for you, and we can email that to you, or you can come pick that up, and we'll make those arrangements with you.
Yeah, either way, just let me know.
Okay. thank you.
Pre-wedding party.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to item D. We heard about this from public comment, the Veterans Archives request, a nonprofit looking for a resolution for charitable gaming license.
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution for the charitable gaming license for the upcoming events hosted by the Veterans Archives.
Support.
We have a motion and a second to support the resolution for charitable gaming license for Veterans Archives. Is there any other discussion, questions, concerns?
Did Brenda second? Okay, thank you. I couldn't tell who it was. Thank you.
All right, hearing none, we'll go to another roll call vote.
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Kaki?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Butler Challenger, yes. Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
All right, that motion passes.
I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. By the way, if you are a veteran or you know a veteran that would like to archive their story, please have them get in touch with me.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to item E, the summer solstice request for use of the park and event sponsorship, including liability insurance. Want to talk about this a little bit, Superintendent?
I do, thank you. We have in the past supported this event. I think it's a good event to continue to support. I am asking the board for use of the entire park and Rickard boat launch. And that helps, I believe it helps with parking, as well as including the township's sponsorship, which is what lets us provide the liability insurance coverage. I would include just some conditions, which they have in the past tried to adhere to, and we appreciate that. And we will work to provide the list of items that Ms. Gardy has requested of our DPW staff. So we will help as much as we can to accommodate them, and I don't foresee any problems.
Could we see that DPW gets a significant amount of barricades where the former Gupta house used to be?
We can do that. I don't know if, I'll have Cody reach out.
I know you've been using a lot of them, so.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how many we have left, but if we can, we will accommodate that request.
Good, thank you.
Yes.
In the memo, it asks us for use of liability insurance coverage, and then says the condition of getting these things is that they're covered by liability insurance. So I assume that's not meant to be circular.
No, it wasn't. If I did that, I'm sorry. It was a mistake on my part.
We'll let it go this time.
Yeah, thank you.
The Legion would like a table there too. Can we get that?
That's not me, so.
That's not you.
That's
That's
not
you.
me.
That would be Friends of Park Lake.
Okay, Friends of Park Lake, okay? Well, I'm gonna get a table for the Legion.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Talk to
okay.
Judy.
Okay,
I
just
have
a
it.
little,
I want to
Karen,
right in
this
my
is,
living room.
okay.
this is cutting it kind of close. Have we been sitting on this?
No, she came at the last meeting. She's got the park scheduled. We will just fill out the request for information and we should be fine.
Okay.
That's happened in past years.
Yeah, but if we had any questions about this, the thing happens in 4 days.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of pressure to move things along without any trouble, which I don't have. Other questions? All right, does someone want to put something into action?
I'll make the motion to approve the summer solstice request for the use of Wiswasser Park and event sponsorship.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there additional questions or concerns? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Ms. Kellerman?
yes.
Mr. Kyke?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Egerman?
Yes.
All right, that motion happens, carries. Good luck on the event. Now we enter our time of discussing MERS. We've got a couple of things we need to do tonight, should we want to move forward with this proposal. Item F is the MERS Defined Contribution Plan. This is the adoption agreement to shift us to a defined contribution plan from a defined benefit plan. Do you have anything you want to add to this, Superintendent? We heard, and there's materials in here, but.
Yes, there is. If anybody has any questions, Lizzie and I are here. I would also welcome Lizzie if she has any additional comments to offer those as well.
I don't think I have anything further than what we discussed last meeting, and I would just, again, point to a really outstanding memo from the superintendent's office describing the big picture and giving you the details so you understand the issues that you're facing. This is always a challenge to kind of walk to this path and make sure people understand, make sure that your employees understand that you're still intending to take care of them. It's going to be a different, it's a different way of taking care of retirement matters for employees. So as the superintendent said, happy to be a facilitator for discussion, but I don't have anything further.
I did not hear from any staff in between the last 2 weeks. Did anybody else hear from staff that had either support or concerns?
Support.
Support?
Did you guys have information?
We did not. We've distributed information. I did have several employees, one of them is here, that had questions. And I think it was just how the 8% and 3% were going to work. So it all seems positive. I didn't hear any concerns from anybody.
Okay.
Are we still planning to do in-person?
We are. We are. I think we're working with schedules right now.
Okay. All right, folks. Are you ready to move this forward?
And I would ask that you take them as three separate items, unfortunately.
Oh, too bad. I was just gonna ask if we do it all.
No, you need to for
So
reasons
the first
too.
one is to authorize the execution of a new MERS defined contribution plan adoption agreement.
Correct.
That's my motion,
I'll second.
To approve that?
Yes.
to authorize the execution.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion, questions on this
I'm gonna
issue?
put the effective date of July 1st.
Yes, that's what's on the documents, right? Isn't that what we wanted? Yeah, July 1st,
Correct.
2025.
Okay. All right, hearing none, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Mr. Kratky?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, that motion carries. That brings us to item G, which is the defined contribution plan, the contribution addendum. Superintendent?
I'm sorry, I was just looking through something really quickly. Usually I try to write suggested motions for you. Apparently I did not in this one.
Well, you
so I-
kinda did.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, authorize the execution of the new contribution addendum for MERS defined contribution.
Okay.
So number 2.
So the second one allows the ability for employees to put 3% into their MERS 457 plan, and for the township to match that in the DC. And that is what was confusing for some people, is because that additional employee contribution doesn't stay in the same plan, but the township, the employer's contribution does. So theirs will go into the 457, which is listed here.
Yep.
Questions, thoughts, motions to be made?
I would assume that's an improvement over previous contribution plan,
It's the same.
or is it the same?
If the employee was to put the additional amount in, it would be the same as previous. The township was putting in 11%.
But their contribution.
Correct.
Just goes way down.
Yeah.
Correct. They can choose now what percentage they want to put in. It's not forced on them to put in the 19.
So in essence, their take-home will be a little more.
Correct. They have more control.
There's more choice.
Yeah.
And I
If
would
they
just
choose.
add, just for the board's edification, that some people may be more familiar with, I put money in, my employer put money in, it goes into the same pot kind of concept. The recommendation from MERS, recognizing that there may come a time in the future that the employees or the employer would like to increase how much employees contribute, and having flexibility is more easily attainable and manageable in the future if the employee contribution goes into a 457. So that is why it's in a slightly different vehicle for their own contribution piece, while the funds deposited by the township as an employer continue to grow in that defined contribution.
Thank you for that.
We want to make things as complex as possible.
Yes, I was actually seeing how many documents we could get in front of you, just to see what happened.
I'll make a motion to authorize the execution of the new contribution addendum for the MERS defined contribution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the defined contribution plan contribution addendum. Are there any other questions?
Doo-dah.
Concerns or discussion?
When does this take effect?
July 1st.
July 1st.
July 1st also?
Also, yeah.
All of them.
Yep.
All right, another roll call vote, please.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Kratky?
Yes.
All right, that motion carries as well. That brings us to the last MERS-related contribution plan piece, the addendum for plan closures, freezes, and conversions.
Yes, so this document effectively will, if you support it, will freeze, close/freeze the defined benefit, which means those funds stay there and no longer, we'll still have a liability, but they will not continue to, I'm not gonna explain this correctly.
There are no longer going
Please
to be
help me.
years of service accruing under the defined benefit
Thank you.
plan, meaning that what they have accrued will stay there, it doesn't disappear, it's still there, it is still a liability that will come due at some point from the township. This document does not provide for currently the option to convert the funds that are in my defined benefit plan over to a defined contribution. The reason for that is more of a legal technical way deep into the benefits laws that essentially says if you're going to offer the opportunity to convert, what I have in my defined benefit to this defined contribution, so as like big seed money, for instance, then my amount of employee contribution has to remain exactly the same. Since the employee contribution rates are going to drop dramatically from their current, what would be 27% is currently 19% to up to 3%. We cannot offer that at this time. It is certainly something the township may want to consider in the future, but not right now. And if you were to do that in the future, that certainly is helpful to the township because folks would be taking their liabilities, getting their current present value of the liability, and that then also pulls it out of your own big picture liability. So maybe down the road, but that is not an option before the board or the employees at this time.
Correct. Thank you for the words.
Questions?
This is maybe a separate question, but are employees still able to, on their own, contribute to that 457?
The new 457.
The new 457?
I don't think under the term of the document that was just approved, that certainly is a topic to be discussed further as the township continues to review its overall compensation plan for employees.
It's pre-tax.
Okay, so if they wanted to take that money that they've already been not bringing home in their paycheck and invest it for retirement, they would have to do that entirely on their own separately?
At this time, that is true.
Okay.
So if, in that example, right now I'm taking 19.9 or whatever that percentage is, so I would take that 16.9% and I can go establish my own accounts. There have been existing 457 plans here at the township previously that haven't been utilized. We obviously look forward to the opportunity to continue hearing from employees once they're getting their feet under them to see if that is something that would be beneficial to the parties.
Right. I just think it's important to realize that although we are making changes that affect them in the short term positively, in the long term, it is going to be a change. When they reach retirement, it's not going to be the same benefit that originally was offered.
Correct. I do think I've heard from some employees that they're I don't know if excited is the right word, but they are looking forward to the opportunity to do some investing on their own, or to see what else the township would offer as part of a mechanism to help them do that.
If any, I imagine the investors, their like ears are pinging out there in the world, the investment consultants. They'll be descending.
Well, and what's nice is that there's also an opportunity for folks to get a higher return rate. It'll be different because of the amount of money they're putting in. It won't be 27%. But if you track what's happened over the last 30 years to the stock market, it probably would have produced more than the plan that our staff is currently under. That's not guaranteed, which is where you lose on those programs. But depending on the economy, there's an opportunity to make even more of a return.
Or lose more.
Or lose more, yeah. I mean, if you ask the GM retirees who were planning to retire in 2008, they would probably not agree with you.
Play the long game, though. The long game is the stock market has paid off.
Just never retire, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Does anyone want to put this into action?
I'll make a motion to authorize the execution of the new, wait, what's this one? The addendum for the plan to close freezers conversions for non-union employees effective July 1st, 2025.
Second.
Freezers. We're not buying any freezers.
Yeah, freezes, not freezers.
I thought I said freezes.
No, you said freezers.
Oh, did I?
That's where we're gonna keep the money now.
Freezer.
In the freezer. All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, great. We have a second. Is there other discussion, questions, concerns? All right, roll call vote.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander, yes. Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Kotke?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
All right, that motion carried as well. To round out our retirement discussions tonight is the employee request for buyout of sick and vacation balances. We heard from the superintendent last meeting. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that? Do folks know what this is?
So in the past, I haven't done this. I did a couple tonight of the memos in the packet that have some conditions. It was important to both of the employees that this count towards their FAC, which of course you just voted to close by June 30th and start a new program as of July 1st. They want to ensure that the contribution, if approved tonight, of their early buyouts would in fact count towards that before it's frozen. This is to hopefully assure them that with your vote tonight, if you choose to approve this, that that is exactly what it'll do, and that we'll have a document that we can provide to MERS to ensure that that occurs. So it was written a little different, but it kind of outlines the buyout is to be applied. The DB closes on June 30th, and then they'll continue to accrue vacation and sick time, and that this is a one-time opportunity. And both of those ladies are here with us tonight if you have any questions for them.
And the hours in this memo are the correct hours they want to do?
It is correct. That is both provided by the individual employee to me for the memo and was not changed from the last meeting to this meeting.
Okay, I'll make the authorization for an early buyout of accumulated paid leave for Christy Colby and Beth Baki with the following conditions that are listed.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the request with the conditions that are listed. Is there discussion, questions, concerns? All right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Kyke?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Lewins Bliss?
Yes.
She's got too many roll calls today.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes.
It's gotta be a record.
All right. Thank you to the Finance Committee and the staff and our support for this process. It's been a long way and we're not quite done. We're gonna deal with our friends in the police union as well, but having been in those meetings, I know this has been quite the thing to trudge through, so thank you for helping us to do that. That brings us to item J, which is Township Office Roof Emergency Repair.
The roof cost more than we anticipated that it would, of course, and I think Mr. Al even tried to approve it for a little bit more, or up to something, because I think he knew how this was gonna go. I have included 3 photographs for you. The contractor located a pea stone roof under the roof, which required additional framing, the removal and additional work, labor materials to be conducted. And it cost approximately $10,096 more. What I am asking tonight is an additional budget amendment for that amount, so that I can pay the bill.
So what would happen if we didn't approve it?
I don't know.
Lawsuit time.
Legal action.
Liz, you got more work. I'll make the motion to approve an additional budget amendment of $10,096 in the building and grounds repair account for unforeseen issues.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Township Office Roof Emergency Repair additional funds and amend the budget to do so. Is there discussion, questions, concerns on this
Is
issue?
it done now?
It's done.
It's done.
Yes, it is done. I think they had it done early. We anticipated them working through the day on Wednesday, and I think they were done by the morning on that Wednesday. And had it all cleaned up, so.
Great. Other questions? All right, let's do another roll call vote.
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Kyke?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Lewins Bliss?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
All right, that motion carries.
Thank you. It is not my pleasure to bring those items back to you, but it is necessary.
Karen, can I back up real quick on the MERS stuff? I had a question I didn't ask.
Oh, no.
Have you run the budget numbers for the remainder of this year to know how this will change our current fiscal year budget?
I have not.
Can you do that for us? I imagine it will be more. Okay.
Do you think a significant amount, or?
Well, we're still gonna pay into the liabilities on the DB, right? And then we're paying in the same amount, the 11% on the DC.
8 for sure, up to an additional 3 per employee, yes.
Yeah. So
So-
most likely it would be more, but I don't have a grasp on how much. Plus, we have these 2 payouts that we didn't budget for.
Or the additional roof.
Or the additional roof, right? All right. Do you think you could have that next time?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Item K, last item for action is the township flag policy. We talked about this last week. What we had discussed previous years was we did not want to take action on hanging flags for particular reasons until we had a flag policy. We asked our attorneys for recommendations for what the flag policy could say. The 2 recommendations that they have given us, one is in the packet, which is my recommendation, one I sent to you earlier today. Both of those assume that we do not want to use the flagpole as a public source of public speech, meaning we would have no control over what flags get hung there or what messages are on those flags. I did not hear any of you say that that is what you were interested in. It puts us in a lot of legal jeopardy, so I think that's a good decision. But what we have in front of us is the option for us to use the flagpole as the township's public speech, which would mean the board would get to approve or deny flags as we see fit. There were a couple of suggestions at the end of the meeting last time. Perhaps there's a second flagpole that could hold other flags. And then there was a general thought that perhaps the flagpoles should be moved elsewhere on the township property to be more easily seen by others. I'm not recommending either of those things, but I think those are viable things we could discuss or could deal with on a separate time.
Can we just make a motion to approve this plan as written?
Yes.
I would like to make that motion to approve this written township flag policy as written and presented to us.
Which one?
Which one?
Which one?
There's 2.
Well, I have only one right here.
Okay.
in front of me.
Well,
The one that was in the
The one in
packet.
the
Here's the other
packet.
They read the same.
No.
No, they don't.
Oh, I should have read them both. Oh, okay,
You're
okay.
not.
I'm looking at this one. This is the one where the whereases are.
No,
I
this
w-
is the moratorium. You're not
Oh.
even looking at the right thing.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay,
You
go ahead.
haven't- Go ahead, Sherry.
I'd like to make a motion that we move it where it's more visible and that we only hang the 3 flags on township property for the township, USA, and perhaps the Clinton County, but prefer the 2.
So you're talking about the United States of America flag, which
Yeah.
is the one we have now,
Yep.
the state of Michigan flag, which we do not have, and then you're not including the Clinton County flag, correct?
Right.
So you're talking
Sure
about the
about
second
second
policy that
policy?
he sent to us through email today?
That our attorneys recommended we not follow?
Okay, that was.
No,
Wait a
that's
minute.
not the one she
No.
said
That's
not
not
to
the one
follow.
you said not follow, okay.
No.
This is the one that would limit the flags. so
Limit
that we
to
would not
USA
fly
and
other
Michigan.
things.
Okay.
So that's
So-
the fundamental if I may, the fundamental difference between the policies that you either have in your packet or have since received. Essentially, if you look at your document in your packet, pages 114 and 115 of the packet, 5.2 is what distinguishes this policy from the other. So one policy says, we for sure will have a flagpole upon which the following things could be displayed. The US of A flag, the state of Michigan flag, and the Clinton County flag. That is a may, not a must, but certainly I expect that you will continue your current practices. It also allows, the one in the packet also allows for the township to have additional flags through this process if this board so chooses. And when those choices are made, it is the board saying, we choose to do this because we think it reflects our goals, our vision, what the community is, what the community wants to be. The alternative does not include the last thing I mentioned, which is the board deciding on a case-by-case basis
There's the difference.
what will or will not happen. You would have a single or however many flagpoles you wish to have, but the flags that would be flown would be limited to those 3 identified in the sample policy. Those are the fundamental differences. What you don't have is a document that says the flagpole is open to anybody who wants to toss a flag up there. That's the basics, right?
Okay, that's the one.
Yeah, and that
Got it.
one won't work.
How many motions are we currently having?
Sherry's the only one who's made
Okay.
a motion.
Oh, I thought Ray made a motion.
Well, I was trying to.
And I
but-
screwed mine up too, so.
Okay.
So
3 flags.
I think we need clarification.
Okay,
You-
my clarification.
You said 3 flags, but then
flags.
you were like real
Yeah,
iffy
okay,
on the one.
I'm sorry, I would make a motion that we only allow, move the flagpole where it's more visible, A.
I don't know if we can do that. but
If we
okay.
can, if we can.
Staff will handle that.
Okay, and that we only allow 3 flags on our property, USA, State of Michigan, and Clinton County.
I'll second that.
Can I make a friendly amendment?
Sure.
Okay, I did notice that the, fire department has a fire flag out there. The police department doesn't because there's no flags in front of the police department, because I believe because we're so close.
So you want to add the fire department and police department as flags that can be flown under section
On our
5.1?
property or on the same pole?
On our property, because the fire department has a flag, and this is going to include every every township property.
Property, okay.
But we don't want the fire department flag up here, we want that.
To stay down.
At the fire
there.
department,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
So your motion is to physically move the flagpole?
Well, if we want to, if we
Staff
can.
will, I will work with DPW to do, either move it or make it more visible, or we will work on that.
Yeah.
But it is part of her motion.
It can be.
It can
I'm
be,
just
it
saying-
can
No, it is.
No.
It is.
It is part of their choice to move it where it's more visible, how's that?
Well, no, that wouldn't work for your
We're
motion.
muddying the
Yeah.
motion
I'm sorry.
here.
I will be quiet.
No, you don't need to be quiet. I'm just saying her motion was to move the flagpole.
Yeah, that
If
was,
possible, she
If
said.
they wish to,
If
to
it's
make it more
possible.
visible, I'm for that. I don't wanna deny you the ability to move it.
Per staff recommendation.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't wanna deny them the ability to move it.
No, I hear what you're
How's
saying.
that?
I just don't want them to not move it and then people be mad because the motion said we were gonna move it. All right, so
Okay.
move it as defined by the staff
decided.
recommendation
Yes.
and
And limit it to USA, State of Michigan, and Clinton County.
And Brenda's asking to add police and fire if
In
they
their,
want to fly
in
their
their,
flags.
near their department. I agree with
and
that.
so you're
Adding
eliminating the
to.
consideration of request for,
Yes.
Yeah, she's going with this
Yes,
one.
yeah, this A.
I see that.
We'll call this A and this B.
so 5 flags.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Could
the
be-
police and fire at their headquarters.
If we added one more, it could be 6 flags over Bath.
But to clarify, you're saying you want the policy to read that those flags would not also fly out here.
Yeah, not all together on our,
Is that what you're asking?
On a suitable pole, yeah.
Well, the fire department has a flag down there. I don't know how long the fire department's had their flag down there. I don't think we should ask them to remove their
No.
flag.
no, 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 no.
It's red, isn't it?
You're
Yes.
just saying,
I
not
thought it
up
was.
here, but at their.
Yeah,
So
there
is-
is, yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Is this flag policy just specifically applying to the one flagpole
There
that
you
we
go.
have?
no.
It's
Or is it
flagpoles
applying
on
to
township
all
property.
flags?
All flagpoles on township
Buildings,
property.
facilities, and properties.
So if like the VFW wanted us to fly a flag to honor veterans in November on Veterans Day, it would be a no-go.
We would
Correct.
effectively be banned by policy
Okay.
from doing that.
It could be brought to us. and
No-
they can-
Not
No,
according
not
to
this
this
policy.
policy.
No.
Any policy can be rewrote.
Correct.
Well, that's true, but that would be by
But if
different
that's the
motion.
case, you should go with the
Then we
recommended
should go with
policy,
the
which
other.
allows that to happen.
Because my answer to the VFW would be our policy says only these flags.
And they have their own property to fly on.
Right.
But
So I would turn them away based on this policy. I don't say, let's rewrite the policy. I say, no, the current policy says you can't do that.
yeah, but isn't the VFW their own property?
Correct.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
we're
that's-
not-
It is-
So we're talking about.
It isn't our property.
Township
No, we're
property.
talking about township parks.
Right.
There's a flagpole down at Cousins Park. In any buildings, I think there's a flagpole at the VCC.
What about, is there anything wrong with the cemetery flags that we would have? That's township property. But
Cousins
they
is-
only put up American flags, right?
Technically,
Yeah.
Cousins isn't township property though, is it?
Yes.
We lease it,
Release them.
so it's not
But
township
this-
property.
but this would apply to that.
Okay.
So POW flags on those grave sites would be technically
That's different. I think we're referring to flagpoles.
poles. Okay, all right, that makes sense, yep.
Can I go with my first?
Well, hers is up at first.
I believe mine was first because you interrupted me, but.
Yeah, we've got a motion on the floor.
right.
So,
Poles.
my concern is the feedback that we all gave when we brought an opportunity to fly a flag was, we need a flag policy.
Correct.
And if we approve this flag policy, we're functionally just saying no, which feels like we wanted to say no, but now we're using the policy as the vehicle to say no, which feels like not what you all said a year ago. So I'm gonna be a no on this. I think we should have the right to, as a board, decide what flags fly up there. I think we should be able to be creative and fly different flags. And I'm not afraid that the public will be upset about that. I think we all know our values and we speak together, and I think we should be able to stand up for that. So, for those reasons, I'll be a no. Other discussion, questions? Right.
Just thought we'd have a vote now.
Well, as Cheryl and Jen, what exactly is your motion?
For this policy.
But it's not that policy.
That's not that policy.
It's
Well-
That's not
that
what she
policy
stated.
plus the police,
Amendments.
plus the
Yep.
fire, plus moving the pole if
If-
staff.
Can,
Can.
yes.
Is that clear, Brenda?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if you were looking for something else.
We should have marked these 1 and 2 is what we should have.
We did, I put A
Put
and
a
B.
2 on,
Well, I know you did, but. And the writer didn't. Who was that?
Well, we're making.
I'm only recommending one policy. I included that policy on my
All right.
agenda. I didn't include the other.
All right.
Other questions?
I will just say that I don't like the idea of limiting the ability to fly other flags, especially in the park. A lot of other things happen in the park, bath days, the museum. Obviously, we have a number of events in the park, and I don't support the idea of every group automatically being denied because our policy says no other flags. I would much more rather we support the other policy that still gives us the right to say no to flags, but on a case-by-case basis.
So that would be the one that is 5.2 little a.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a longer policy, and it was the one that was in the packet.
Okay,
And
let's
it was
just say
one
the
that was
short
in-
one or the
was
long
one
one.
in
That
the
way we'll
packet.
know the two
Yeah.
written ones.
A was first, B.
Page 114 in
A and B.
the
I'm gonna put A and B.
packet is what Kate is referring to.
All right.
do we have a second?
We do.
We have,
We do have a
yes.
second on this one here with moving the
Shorter
flag.
policy, no other flags.
Actually, it was a custom one. I disagree that it was this one.
Okay,
Well, we've added the police and fire and then possibly moving the pole.
I concur with that.
Okay, then you go.
Other questions? All right, we need a roll call vote for this since it's policy.
Yeah, we're gonna do it. yeah.
Okay.
So we're going for the short policy.
With-
With
The
amendments.
amendments.
Amendments, yep, okay. Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Kyke?
No.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
No.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes,
Ms. Hagerman?
No.
Passed.
All right, that motion carries. All right, that brings us to item 14, new business, items for introduction discussion. Item A, letter of understanding between the Bath Township Police Department and the Bath Township Police Road Patrol Union regarding the K-9 handler compensation amendment. Superintendent and Chief.
I would invite Chief to the lectern.
Hello.
We're just trying to, kind of, admittedly, we got the cart before the horse. We have the dog now. And, there's, some contract language that needs to be cleared up. It makes it, easier and better on both parties. The union has agreed to this. It just cleans up the language and, some other compensation.
letter pretty much says it all.
Has there been any opposition to this that you're aware of?
To your knowledge, is this pretty much in line with a previous plan or other plans?
Our previous, the current, the way it's written is not in line with common practices in the area. This one brings us more in line with compensation terms for it.
And you personally, do you recommend this as chief of police? It's not helpful.
Is there anything else? Karen?
No, unless you have questions.
Lazy's shaking her head, so it must be time to take a vote.
You guys make that decision.
This is not for action tonight.
Oh, I thought it was an action item.
My comment would be, it's a lot of work to have the dog with these guys, a lot of time they spend in training, incredible amount of time. I've done it, I've been there, and it's so valuable to us as a community that they need some help, compensation with it.
I'm pretty sure we put it in our budget.
Do we bring this up then for action at another meeting? or-
Next meeting.
Next one.
Yeah.
Can I ask a dumb question? How come we don't act on it now?
Our board rules say that we will look at information at one meeting and vote at another. It's a way of preventing things from coming to us at the last minute.
Oh.
Sort of like the police thing came to us this afternoon.
I must have missed that line, I'm sorry.
We obviously go around that where things are emergencies and we
Yeah.
need to move quicker.
Yep.
But it's
Okay.
really a way of protecting you all from having things thrown at you at the last minute.
Understand. Thank you for that clarification.
All right, if there's nothing else on that item, thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to item B, ordinance number 3190, establishing moratorium on self-storage facilities from the planner.
When did we do that?
We did.
This is.
Moratorium.
This is.
Oh, I thought it was. Okay, I thought there was one already, I misunderstood.
I'll probably ask Lizzie to help me out on this one and explain kind of the legal background on, just for people that may not know what a moratorium is in practice. I'll just quickly explain, I guess, just to kick it off, kind of how we got here. At our last planning commission meeting, prior to the meeting, I guess, the chair talked to me about setting the agenda, as I'm sure, this body's aware, it's usually how it goes. The representative of whatever body will talk to the staff liaison for that body. The agenda gets created. We spoke about, the amount of storage that has been seen in recent years, the amount of storage that is currently in place in the township. And the chair relayed that some of the planning commission members desired to discuss storage, look into storage. Could we place something on the agenda to discuss the possibility of a moratorium? Going into that meeting, there was no attachments or no materials. We just wanted to kind of intro the idea, and I kind of went in at a high level thinking we would just 5,000-foot view, look at the land use, examine the policy, talk about a moratorium perhaps. It was a pretty dynamic meeting. It ended up, there was a motion made and the motion was seconded to recommend a moratorium on this land use to this body. Quickly worked with legal counsel to shore that language up and get a proper document in front of this body. And that's how we got here tonight. The planning commission obviously feels strongly about this. They were unanimous in their vote to support the recommendation to take up a moratorium on this land use. The time element to the moratorium is important, and Lizzie, you can probably speak to this better than me. In my experience, years, typical 12 months. The planning commission wanted to do 18 months. The rationale, at least expressed at the meeting for the longer timeline, was the timeline that we've set for our comprehensive plan. Because we're in this higher level discussion about land use policy in the township, what's the direction of the township, what is the future for Bath Township. They thought this was an appropriate time to step back, analyze what's going on with this land use in the same way we're analyzing the broader township and kind of have that be one of the products that come out of this moratorium period. So that's my best shot at explaining how we got here tonight. Lizzie, if you could help me out with what a moratorium is.
I thought Planner Robler did an excellent job. You may very well be aware that the Zoning Enabling Act allows a township to adopt this type of vehicle, which is essentially hitting a pause button for a period of time. That means that nobody is compelled to make a decision on a particular or any application regarding that particular topic. Some of you who have been on the board for more than a couple of years or been watching the board will remember maybe similar conversations around the time that the medical marijuana and recreational marijuana legislation came through. A lot of communities kind of said, hold on, I'm not sure I understand this well enough to be making decisions about what is coming next. I don't use that example as a suggestion that it is equivalent to storage facilities. I just, as an example, so you understand how this might be used in other scenarios. It is, 18 months is a little longer than we have seen. I would not say that there is a threshold at which it becomes unacceptable. But it would be important for the board to understand and be able to articulate what Planner Robler has indicated, which is you are at an interesting timing point right now with other reviews happening. And so legal counsel was happy to facilitate getting that in front of you per the Planning Commission's vote. It is the recommendation of the Planning Commission. It will remain this body's choice whether or not to adopt that recommendation. And you have some sample material in front of you that would establish that moratorium so that you know what that looks like and would not, as the supervisor indicated, be caught off guard were something to be tossed in front of you at the last second. So barring that, I think the planner has done an excellent job. Maybe to end around a question that I could anticipate, I would also offer, often we get questions about, well, there's an applicant or there's a potential applicant and now you're going to hit the pause button and does that work in undue hardship? Is there a legal concern there? It is always a point of consideration. That does not mean that you are forbidden from entering into a moratorium ordinance like the one presented to you, even though there are potentially applicants pending or leading up to being in front of either a respective body. You certainly may still enter into that moratorium. But you have heard from some members of the public today about the things they wish for you to consider as a policy choice, whether or not you'd like to do that.
No question. I can't remember your name, the gentleman, and you, him, yeah, the one in the middle there, sorry. Are you also on Planning Commission for DeWitt Township, aren't you?
I am.
And you had recommended in your public comment to forego this or vote against this moratorium, is that correct?
To stay the moratorium.
Just, yeah, could you elucidate on that a little more? I'm just a little confused because.
Should I come to the podium?
If you would, please, yeah.
Well, I checked with DeWitt Township today because we've had several storage unit facilities come before the township. We haven't denied one.
Mm-hmm.
And we have 4 with another one being approved that hasn't constructed yet. But we have over, and I was told 400 units, storage units within DeWitt Township. We're the same size as Bath Township. And I don't know how many units you guys have here.
We haven't done an exact unit count, but to my knowledge, we have 5 storage facilities operating in the township. I think our unit count will be a little bit higher than that. Put it closer, just rough estimate around north of 1,000.
I only know of East Lansing Storage. What's the other ones?
We have a storage facility that is behind Noco Lofts. You might be familiar with that one.
Okay, yes, I know that one.
It's all interior climate controlled. We have opposite side of Chandler on Huntsaker, a storage unit facility back there. Then across from Mr. Dehan's facility, we have American Storage Rental. Then we have Mr. Dehan's facility, East Lansing Storage. And I believe there is one on Old M78, yeah, Premier. 2000 Premier. Yeah, that's a larger facility. So, yeah, I mean, the Premier is probably the only one I haven't personally been inside of that facility, but yeah, we have a healthy amount of storage in the township.
Okay, and another question I had was, the other gentleman, when he came up, he mentioned that this was technically not self-storage, it was something else, warehousing possibly?
Business storage?
So this ordinance specifically states I mean, the governing self-storage facilities. So are these self-storage facilities or are they not?
Well, that is a
The ones,
point.
the ones that are being, come up
Well,
for.
I guess we're good with, Mr. Fair here, so we can.
Yeah, I only know of, I think Jeff's and his, that, was it square, what was it, square or something?
Space Cube.
Space.
Square Cube, yeah, that was what it was.
I think we're good with you. I can answer this question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the Space Cube, facility would be more in the vein of traditional storage. The facility that Mr. Dehan has brought forward to the township, this happens a lot with land use policy, and Lizzie, jump in here if I ever say anything incorrect. With even the Peacock Road Tree Farm that was here tonight, if I was working in some of the communities I previously worked in the UP, there's a very clear land use designation for that type of facility. It's typically, you'll find it in the agricultural district under agritourism. Different municipalities have different districts established and different land uses established. As we all know, technology evolves and changes as time goes on, so too do land uses, and what becomes popular and what becomes out of style or no longer profitable changes. Local ordinances do not always change as quickly as the free market does. Therefore, land uses can come before a municipality and they don't have the exact land use to say, this is that, in our code, this is that. What zoning administrators, planners often will do is they will try to pigeonhole that land use that's being brought forward into the land uses within the established district and say, we think this most similarly matches, this type of land use. The land use that Mr. Dehan is bringing forward is one of those, I would say, it's growing in popularity, it's newer on the scene, you're seeing it happen more and more. You actually aren't even the first person in this area, probably beknownst to anybody here, that's come before Bath Township, not with a formal application, but interested in this land use. That would be a larger, what maybe the layperson wouldn't quite describe as a warehouse. It's not big enough to be a warehouse, but it's bigger than your normal traditional storage unit. And there are storage-esque features to it, and for that reason, when this was first brought to the township, within our BSNA system, we code these applications as they come in for record purposes, and we did code this as a storage land use. Now, obviously, when the planning commission went ahead and did what they did on Tuesday night, the market reacts, and the board is seeing that tonight. One of the market reactions for Mr. Dehan was, well, you're saying we're this thing, we're not this thing. And obviously, when there's when the private sector or developer feels like there's a financial burden, there does become an impetus to more clearly define what we're doing. I've communicated with this developer that if, you feel like this was designated incorrectly, like with every applicant, I'm always open to hearing out any argument on any development. As the planning commission is well aware, we go back and forth all the time about very minor details with developments that almost never get brought up outside of our very long planning commission meetings.
That sounds like we don't know whether his stuff would be covered by the moratorium or not.
So-
Is that what you're saying?
Well, as it's currently designated, it would be covered by the moratorium. However, that doesn't preclude the applicant from amending their application. I would then confer with legal counsel to say, do you concur that this could be put under a different designation? And then once if it doesn't fit within the guise of the moratorium, seeking legal counsel's advice, then I'm compelled to bring it back in front of the planning commission. So that is a possibility out of this whole.
Can you talk about intent then? Is the intent to put a moratorium on what Mr. Dehan is talking about, or is the intent not to?
I believe that is the planning commission's intent.
Okay, so this theoretical, we could come back and get the planning commission to overturn it.
What intent is.
Seems unlikely, right?
What the intent is and what the law is can, and sometimes are, different things.
I saw the figure 22,500 square feet. Was that of these buildings? Was that yours? And is that contiguous, or is it subdivided in there to small self-storage units? I guess that's where my mental stumbling goes. I mean, I wouldn't look at a 22,000 square foot building as self-storage.
Exactly. And that was going back to the intent of the planning commission. This is a newer land use on the scene. Municipalities are seeing this more. I've tried to communicate with some of the developers and even people in the private sector that are just curious about what's happening in Bath Township here, that the planning commission feels we do need to better define these things. We do need time to create regulation around this, and that is their impetus for bringing this forward.
But we may not actually get that time if it's decided that this is not self-storage. So we would have put a moratorium on to define something that it ends up being defined for us because it happens around us.
Lizzie, do you want to speak maybe in a different way? I feel like I might get into some circular logic.
So I think what your planner is trying to say is that when there is not a clear use defined in the zoning ordinance to which my project aligns, that staff and the planning commission try to work within the existing model, and that so far in that process, the existing model has been to apply the self-storage concept to what it sounds like, I don't know, but what it sounds like Mr. Behan or his group is doing. And I also hear Planner Robler and through him, the planning commission with this moratorium, saying, we're not even sure if that's the way we want to define self-storage or what regulations we might like to have regarding self-storage or whatever this other thing might be. And so you have, as far as I can tell, a planning commission and a planner who are saying, we think we just need a pause overall. And that may still include further clarification coming for Mr. Behan through some other means if available to him, which certainly can also be discussed. An alternative or an additional consideration before this comes back to the board is that there be some additional discussion with the planner and legal counsel about trying to get to the gist of what you have raised, which is, are we adopting a thing that we don't actually think applies to the project that got us here in the first place? I think that's the issue you're raising. It's a fair question. There are, however, other vehicles for proposed or actual applicants to seek classification of their uses, to know what their use counts for under the zoning ordinance. That I'm not sure if that was discussed at all yet, but that's still on the table regardless of the moratorium. So I will go back to the final over to see if that's even something that's been discussed yet.
Miles, do you mind if I say one other thing?
So, that's per, Jen, one second.
Yeah.
That's per the supervisor.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, thank you. I'm an attorney, and I know as a planning commissioner, one of the things we always have to consider is, can we defend this decision? And that's one of the questions you have to ask if someone goes after you in this situation of a moratorium, because it's fuzzy, it is. And can you defend that? And I know we did that in DeWitt Township with sand and gravel issues. And that was very tough, and it created a black eye in the community. It's one of those things you have to consider. Thank you.
Absolutely. These are things that happen across the state. Short-term rentals are a topic that often bring a board to a question of, do we want to engage in a moratorium? Do we know what we want to do with short-term rentals? So your Verbo, your Airbnb rentals of residentials. There are lots of land uses that prompt this consideration. And again, it comes back to, this is the first time this is being presented to you. If there is feedback that this board would like to provide or questions that you would like further track down to get to these issues, I think this is the best time for those to be presented.
Yeah.
Can we be sued?
Anybody can.
Yeah. Anybody can sue anybody.
Council over there would indicate anybody can be sued at any time for anything. And the issues will boil down to how does that all fall out.
What was the vote of the planning commission?
Unanimous.
I understood it was unanimous.
It was unanimous.
I really am surprised because I don't remember very many unanimous decisions coming out of them.
That's
There's
what I
always
say,
one
it
or
seemed
two.
like they felt strongly about the topic.
Well, if I may, John and I talked a little bit about this today, and the more I thought about it, the more confused I got. So, you know, it's no secret that we lost a rather seriously large project here recently that would have done very, very good things, in my opinion, to the township. And that kind of leaves a black eye on a lot of things. But do we know if the self-storage is super saturated? Do we know the use rate of all of those self-storage units? I haven't seen any of them go out of business or anything, so I guess it just, as a business person, you know, we are always looking for good quality businesses to come into the township and build, and basically to create tax revenue, and you know, there are gonna be some jobs there. So I didn't understand why, granted, I think we should look into this moratorium thing, but to stop projects that, you know, prima facie, they pretty much meet all the other, you know, dot all the i's and cross all the t's. That's my dilemma. So preliminarily, I don't understand the reason for a moratorium at this time.
So does the moratorium apply to new projects?
Yes.
This will apply to any self-storage new
Even,
projects.
even the applications that are already in process?
Yep.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, well, the board's not, they have autonomy here. I think Lizzie kind of spoke to that as well. Really, the board can, and we talk about this when the planning commission goes for votes, you can approve, you can deny, and you can do things in between that as well. So for example, they could say, pause on all storage, pause on things similar to storage, and we can work and define that better. You can say, pause on new projects, the projects that are currently being reviewed can go forward. Or for the third example, you could say, we don't like this at all. Tell the planning commission, like, thank you for the recommendation, we appreciate it. So those are 3 examples of things the board can do, and there's probably many things I couldn't think of that you could also do here.
Other questions, thoughts?
I
Jen?
just want to say that I am not for this at all, due to the fact, Ray said it, we need tax money. We are fiscally need money in this township. That is 2 new businesses.
That brings up a good point, if you don't mind me saying too. One thing that's probably important to understand when you're thinking about how did we get here with the planning commission, I talked to the superintendent a little bit about this. You gotta understand that the planning commission, and even myself to a large degree, we're looking at the decisions and recommendations we make through a prism of land use policy. The board factors in many things outside of that prism, and you should do so. So, you just consider, I guess that's just consider that when you're thinking about why we got here and how we got here.
I will say that one of the, some of the reasoning that was provided at the planning commission meeting to introduce this was that although, yes, storage facilities are businesses, how much money do they actually bring to the township from like a secondary standpoint? How many employees do they have? How many people are coming to them regularly who would then visit other businesses around the township? Do they cause people to want to move here to this area as opposed to other types of businesses that could go into that same spot but can't because it's now a storage facility?
But do we then tell the private landholder that you can't do the thing you want to do because we think it should be something else?
Well, I think that's what land use policy is all about in the planning commission. I mean, I live in a rural area of the township and I could not start, other than agritourism, it sounds like I couldn't just start I couldn't put a storage unit facility there.
Unless you got
Right.
it rezoned.
Right, exactly.
And currently, those 2 locations are in the development zone, so that is where those 2 developments should go.
Okay, what?
I asked him if that was correct.
Oh,
If her
okay.
statement was correct.
There was 2 different things going on.
Sorry.
Can I ask one more question? Kate, the vote was unanimous, so tell me why you voted for it.
Because I knew it would come here and I'd get a chance to vote on it again. Honestly, not to sound so flippant about it, I did consider what was being said, but I knew personally that it was not going to be the end of the discussion on that particular topic.
Okay, interesting. Okay. I'm,
Do we have a recommendation for the planner, or do we want?
This is just discussion.
I was gonna say,
Could I-
if you could, and I probably should let you finish. Direction would be helpful for him, but for me as well, because if you intend to, if you want to take further action on this, he has work to do, and then of course it will be, although this is introduction, this was really the discussion, and that would need to be publicly noticed. Like, lots of things will have to happen legally for us to proceed with this, so I'm sorry I cut you off, Supervisor.
No,
But there are a lot of boxes to be checked by both the planner and my staff in order to bring this back to you at the next meeting.
so we're not looking for any action tonight?
No, but direction.
Yeah.
Should we, meaning Miles and the Planning Commission, spend time on this?
And legal?
Go ahead, Sheriff.
It seems like if you were talking to people about the whole project, that you can't say, yeah, let's entertain this and let them spend money, and then say, oh, wait, we're gonna put a moratorium on it. One way or the other, you either entertain your project for a new McDonald's, and you don't entertain it and let you spend money on it, and then say, oh, moratorium on McDonald's, we're not gonna do it.
Well, but see,
That doesn't make sense.
They have to, like, the person that wants to build the facility will go through all that planning and engineering before the township even knows about it. You know, if they have aspirations of building something new, and then they'll bring it to us and say, this is what we wanna do, we want an SUP.
Yeah, just as a developer could say, hey, I wanna make this big development, and then pull out and change their mind.
Can we approve it?
Yeah.
Just to say no to the whole project and have anybody, I don't know, it seems backwards to me.
Well, I think part of it too is, if I'm correct, these businesses haven't been in front of the planning commission yet on their projects, correct?
One hasn't.
One hat, okay,
And our one received a pre-app.
okay. So they're at different stages of review,
And it sounds like they've expended funds.
correct?
Yeah, I would say.
I just didn't know the
both
timeline.
Have spent money and time on the projects.
Breathing expense.
The resolution says due to concerns from the public. What concerns from the public are coming?
It was discussed during, as Kate said, it was discussed a couple of different rationales on why the planning commission and the members that kind of brought this forward in front of the planning commission felt like this was needed, and I don't know if they're exactly saying, I don't think their intention was to say the public at the planning commission demanding this, but probably more the informal, in my talks and travels in the world, this is what I'm hearing from people.
And what they're hearing from people is concerns about storage facilities in Bath Township.
That's what was alleged. I can't speak to people's lived experience.
We have the chair here,
I know.
just offer.
Thank you. Other thoughts? What do we want to tell Miles and the Planning Commission? Should they continue to work on this? Are we not interested on this? Do we want changes? Al?
We didn't send this to them.
No.
What brought that up that they wanted to send it to us?
The public's really concerned about storage units in Bath Township, apparently.
Well, I
Miles,
don't know,
do you want to answer that?
Well, I think there was some discussion amongst the commissioners themselves, and it's just one of those things that, I'd like to again state this. It was even brought up earlier, we were having pre-applications meetings with an applicant, they felt caught off guard by this. They even said, was this something that, people think all kinds of things, is this something that was being discussed? It was not. Tuesday night was a surprise for staff as much as it is now a surprise for the board. The commissioners, in their discussions and travels, seemed to think it was a concern and have brought it forward. That's why it's before you tonight.
Thank you, Miles.
Can I ask where the square facility was going to be, or is
I'll
proposed?
cover, there's a development update that's coming after this. And
I haven't seen it, so.
But If you're familiar with where the proposed gas station
Oh,
is
yeah,
to
yeah.
be located,
Yeah.
it would be behind that gas station, south of Food Court Lane and in front of the food court
This is the
itself.
Kessler project.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's about a 4 acre property.
Is it on the same?
It's on the same south side
southeast?
of the gas station.
Okay.
Like I said, behind the gas station in front of the food bank, kinda
And then
tucked by the highway.
The Dymaxion one is over
The-
by East Lansing Storage?
The one that the maximum development was proposing would be in that middle vacant portion that's between their, retail, 4-unit retail building and the East Lansing storage.
Okay.
If you're familiar with that.
The old
site.
Hosford,
The old
property.
Hosford property, yes.
Yeah, okay. Got it, thank you.
The new Dehan property.
Yeah, exactly, that's the Indiana
It's been his for a couple years at least.
Would it be helpful for them to know that these aren't the only storage unit ones that we've had from the pre-app?
Yeah, that's a
Over the
good,
last couple of years?
that's a good point from the assessor, as I mentioned earlier, even maybe to, Mr. Deanne's surprise. No, these come up. I was talking to some of the, staff earlier today about how, just to zoom out a little bit about market trends, and it was even mentioned, you know, how the market can dictate some things sometimes. Right now, projects are harder to pencil because of the market conditions, and storage is one of those projects that is still able to pencil, and we're seeing storage discussed as a market product, a development product more often these days.
So it's potentially profitable then?
It's profitable, yeah.
Is it due to the lower, investment in getting it off the ground?
There are less barriers to entry with developing storage and, less licensing involved,
Okay.
less strict building codes.
Okay.
Thank you, Miles, sorry to have to grill you so much.
I have one more question.
She's not sorry.
After we go through our process and our strategic planning with the planning commission and, adjusting the zoning designations throughout the township, do you expect that these 2 specific properties would stay as they are currently designated?
I think so, yeah, I do, just because of their proximity to the highway. There are a lot of interesting properties, I will admit, in Bath Township where I look at their zoning and I'm like, why? And I saw that on day 1 when I was hired here and I looked at your zoning map. These are not 2 of those.
Yeah,
But that is my opinion, just to be clear about that.
Being you brought up about the gas station, is that still in works or?
I'll go over that in my development review next.
Okay.
Just to try to stay on topic, because I could really get off topic here.
but as it changes the flavor of that area, the intent is that, yes, the gas stations.
As it relates to this, that is a good point, I'm sorry, I didn't see that connection there, yes. It's still on, as far as I'm aware.
Well, folks, what do you wanna do?
I see no need for this.
Does anyone feel strongly that we should have this come back, or that the planning commission should keep working?
Yeah.
I don't see any reason for it, but I did see reason for the marijuana,
Yeah.
and, but I don't see, this is in the same areas. It isn't asking for something to be moved or a area to be changed, and what it was supposed to be put into, so I'm not for it.
I'm not hearing anyone championing the idea. What I don't wanna do is send Miles and the planning commission on a wild goose chase if we're just gonna turn this down in 2 weeks.
I do appreciate that.
Your time is valuable, as is the planning commission. All right, well, I'm not hearing any sort of ringing endorsement to move forward, so obviously the planning commission took a vote and recommended this. We certainly can take a vote on it, but this information might be interested to the planning commission about how they wanna move forward. I don't wanna deny the planning commission their ability to recommend something to us and go to a vote, but it sounds like there isn't a lot of interest here.
No, I think they've always appreciated the relationship that they've had with this board, and me can communicate this at our next meeting, I think in the spirit of what you're saying.
Are you
As I-
meeting in between our next meeting?
No, we'll meet at the second Tuesday of next month will be our next meeting.
Okay.
And I think the planning commission knows that this board's always appreciated and respected their opinion, as you have sent us many issues, even some of which have been outside of land use policy in the past, just to consider.
So is your intention to do nothing? Or have it come back to you? I didn't hear it clearly, I'm sorry. I just want to clarify.
Well, it's a recommendation from the planning commission, so.
Correct.
If they want us to vote on it, I think we have to vote on it.
Okay, so we
But I
will
think the
proceed
message that
with-
the planning commission is hearing now is how that vote's probably gonna go.
Okay.
Can we just make a motion and vote on it right now?
I already tried that.
So,
But what if I try it, right?
that skips a lot of steps that are required, for the Zoning Enabling Act in terms of publishing and letting people know about these
Oh,
sorts
yeah,
of things. So-
that's
Okay.
true, you'd have to have public hearings, yeah.
So.
You'll have to have a public hearing.
Yeah.
Yes, so I
We-
think,
we.
to the supervisor's point, where is the consensus, having that discussion right now is important. Because if the consensus is, we don't see that this needs to go any further, then your staff, the planning commission, Planner Robler, take no further action to advance it. Barring, I suppose, the planning commission holding a special meeting and, wanting to emphatically explain to you why they think that's necessary, and it may come forward again.
Well, they could do it at the regular meeting, it would just then come to us at the
Correct.
second meeting instead of the first meeting.
Yeah.
All right, do you feel like you've got some clarity?
I do.
Okay,
Correct.
We'll communicate that to the planning commission, though, and see if they have clarity, because obviously there are 7 people with their own minds.
yeah. All right, any last things to say about that?
The deep discussion.
All right, do,
Yeah, with the clip share not working.
Okay.
It's not, I don't have HDMI cable, but I do have a map to go through it.
Okay, perfect.
do you wanna step right into item C, development update then?
If that's okay with you, Supervisor.
Yeah.
Okay, the superintendent did ask that I share a map, click share right now, I know the deputy superintendent is working on it. It does make it challenging to utilize the TVs. I can, take a snap of this map and email it out to the board on a blind copy email after this meeting. Just so you guys can see, but quickly, I didn't spend a lot of time on it, I just, to get my thoughts together, color-coded the recent developments that are going on in the township, put into 3 different categories, recently approved, under construction, and under review. So, I'll go with the recently approved ones first, these are some of them, well, one of them you'll remember, which is, in recent history, which is the I development, that's the 78 unit development in the Somerset area, just over here. Special use permit for that one, mini dwelling units, the final documentation for that, MBSNA was closed out and emailed to the applicant. Since then, we haven't heard anything, but that's not always untypical, so we'll see what the I's do in terms of that. Sometimes I don't hear anything, and then one day I show up to work and there's a bunch of construction plans in my inbox, and we go from there. The other one that the board is less familiar with, because this was approved as a use by right, so it would never come to the board, is the fourplex on Main Street. I noticed in my travels recently that they now have the silt fences up for their soil erosion, so it seems like they intend to get the ball rolling in terms of construction quicker than what's typical. That's likely due to the fact that that development was held off for a very long time due to some regulatory concerns from the Mid-Michigan Health Department. Ultimately, those were cured by the applicant, and it was allowed to move forward, which I hope speaks to Bath Township and our partnering agencies' thoroughness on our review process that these developments go through. And it does, again, speak to how much effort, time, and money the developers themselves have to put in on the front end of these projects, on knowing full well that they can be denied for any reason at any time, at any step in the process.
And I understand there may be some parking issues that the board might need to talk about on that project.
There was some concern from the planning commission as it relates to parking as far as, and I 100% respect the planning commission, and they have been proven right many times. When it comes to the parking on this particular development, I guess on the staff side, myself and some of the other staff that I work with closely, including our young planners that we train here, are all far less concerned about the parking on that site than it seems like planning commission was concerned. And I think that might be due though to, just to expand on the parking a little bit, due to our different experiences when it comes to parking. Obviously I've worked and lived in the cities of Flint and Detroit, so my experience around parking is probably varies vastly from your typical Bath Township resident. Walking a couple blocks to get to my apartment is not seen as a big obstacle for me, but in Bath Township and traditionally most suburban communities, they want a parking spot in front of the store they would like to go to. And if there's not an available parking spot in front of the store, then there's a perceived parking crisis. That is not the current doctrine in the planning industry. And
So the intent for this project, is it to have dedicated spaces on the street or not?
It is. The dedicated spaces would be on the street, and that's what was established. There was a parking agreement that was entered between the township, the road commission, and the applicant themselves in order to determine how parking will be managed. There are many agreements that get entered with a lot of these developments, as I can go through some of them when we continue this development. I will say that I heard the concerns about parking and the maintenance of parking, and I think this is a very appropriate fix. And I will also say, this is going to be a very nice building on Main Street, which very desperately needs a nice building, and this will be the only parking on Main Street that has such an agreement, although there are many current operating multifamily dwelling units on Main Street that utilize public parking with no such agreement. And it has not been an issue at any point that I've ever heard of until this development was brought up at the planning commission meeting, which I did find interesting.
So you're not gonna bring a recommendation to us to do anything special about this? You think it's taken care of?
I wouldn't say that. I do think that if the township continues to want on-street parking, which I think does line up with the best practices within the planning industry, we should always strive to create clarity about how we're treating those land use issues. So I would say there's no immediate emergency in my mind, at least, on how to treat and define on-street parking. However, I think it could be useful to create language regulating such things, because it is in existence in the township and no such language exists.
Yeah, we're just not gonna take up that issue unless somebody tells us to.
Okay.
Right, we're not all sitting around thinking it might be useful if we perhaps came up with language for on-street parking.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing from you is like there's an agreement in place and you feel okay about the project.
Yeah, as it relates to this project specifically, I feel okay. As it relates to on-street parking in the township more generally, I think clarity could be a good thing. The supervisor would like there to be an issue before language is brought forth.
No, I'm just saying like you think too highly of us. We're not thinking at home over dinner like, I wonder if we should think about on-street parking. Unless you prompt us, we're not gonna come up with the wisdom that you're asking for.
Okay, for sure, then, okay, I think we're in alignment.
Okay.
All right, great. Okay, great. So the next development that I'll bring up, it was mentioned earlier, so that's it in terms of recently approved. So now let's go to under consideration. So just because it's the elephant in the room, two developments under consideration right now are the Demaxium development brought forth, which has been discussed in some detail tonight. Got introduced at the planning commission. In lieu of our conversation tonight, it seems like the next steps for Demaxium development will be to continue to complete a full set of plans and allow us to move into the agency review period. At what point we'll have a full agency review built out, a public hearing, a vote, and then ultimately some type of action that will be brought forth to this body, as it is even, no matter what land use designation it gets, it's likely, very likely, that it'd be something in the realm of a land use permitted by special use permit. These gentlemen also behind me are bringing a development, as you heard, near where the proposed gas station is to be located, and that falls into the category of your more traditional self-storage. There will also be a vehicle component to it, albeit separate than some of the other vehicle storage components, as they're proposing concrete slab and the vehicle storage area be covered by a three-sided structure. So if you're interested, when those come up to the planning commission, come on by or tune in. Another one that was introed at the planning commission recently, and they would probably be interested to hear the timeline for the Chandler corridor, which I'll have to communicate them now that that's been made publicly known, was they're calling it Chandler North, but it's basically Noco Lofts 2, phase 2. They want to establish their clubhouse and 60 more dwelling units. I don't know if they're going to go with a similar lime green. I know that's been a contentious thing in Bath Township. I made them aware of the contentious nature of that color. So we'll see what they do. We don't have those level of renderings yet. They know they're being very early on about this. They know they're entering this, and they know the RU capacity isn't there. We've been very transparent with letting them know that they just wanted to seek initial input. What's the idea? There may be also I should mention there should be a real estate or retail component to that site, so very much in that mixed use space that area of the township is known for. However, that project can't move forward until we have the RU capacity there, so I wouldn't expect that anything really to move with that until later in 2026.
Is that based on the Chandler Road project then?
Yes.
That would free up the RUs in that space?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, for those that don't know, that's good to point out. All right, and then let's go into the ones that have been approved and are under construction. So people might have noticed that the 9-unit PUD, which is basically the Landings Part 2 on Club Course, is now under construction. We've received some building permits for those. I believe there's one house being framed up and 2 more that have received foundations poured. It sounds like those houses sold very quickly before the dirt was even moving. All 9 were sold.
That's the ones right across from Eagle Eye?
Yes. Wow. So popular spot. Another one under construction is, I put this as approved and under construction, the fourplex. Obviously, the gas station is going to be under construction this season as far as we're aware and as far as we're being told. I haven't seen any progress on site, but last I talked with the applicant, which admittedly was a couple months ago, they were looking at a summer timeline to commence construction, so we're in that season now. This is a use by right one that the board might not be as familiar with. On State Road, there was a schoolhouse that was approved, a private school. That one is operating under a temporary C of O, but still some construction taking place. I did see that they recently had their parking lot poured. They've got some new asphalt on site, and it's all been striped. I think it looks quite nice.
Is that the permanent building that's there?
That is, and that's how they always proposed it, which was a kind of interesting thing, but with these uses by right, it's tricky on what you can and can't do from the state, from the terms and conditions. If it meets zoning, you're compelled to give no approval.
I just had a different picture in my brain.
Me as well. It's one of those prefab structures, actually a company out of Tennessee or Kentucky that specializes in building those for schools, and they have to, when they're prefab and constructed, they meet all the different building requirements in each state that is required of a schoolhouse, which is a separate area of the building code specific to that land use.
You see them in the South a lot as like outbuildings when schools
Yes.
grow outside of their physical building.
Yes, correct. Also, Mallory Building last year brought forward a warehouse one, which did come before this body. I believe the earthwork and some of the early construction for that is starting to take place. That's on Coleman. It's not their new Maui warehouse site. It was their original site that they operated out. There was a warehouse on there and a house that they converted into an office. The house had become in disrepair. They were demoing that and building a second warehouse. So that's moving forward. And then the last one that is currently under review and will be in front of this body soon, that one to talk about tonight, is the Kessler 40-unit Gary Lane development recently. The application was amended to come before the Planning Commission as a PUD. A couple edits I had to make with my staff on our end, but I would expect your next meeting that will be brought before this body. So if you have any questions or want more details about that before it's time, please reach out to the planning department or the superintendent's office, and I can get her whatever she requires.
I had a question about that, looking at it. Has the township been in contact with Kessler about its possible impingement on the soccer area?
That was a point of conversation in the development very early on when that came, to the township as doing this development for Mr. Kessler presented an opportunity for him to shore up the conversations that have been happening for almost like decades prior to my time at Clinton, how exactly to treat the soccer field. So the plan, as I understand it, from Kessler Development, Kessler Construction, is to use that as their open space and then donate a portion of the soccer field that's still under that development entity's control to the township.
Yeah, I just wonder if it was gonna be more official. I understand that he just kind of allowed us to use it for soccer, and that's pretty important for the township to have a good soccer area.
It's not the soccer field, this is the parking lot.
It's just a parking
Yeah,
lot.
but I mean, it kind of, in their open space, I noticed it kind of crept into where, traditionally the soccer area was, so I didn't know if it was taken away from the soccer area.
Yeah, I think the main point that I would like people to take away is the project is coming before this body. There is some access and land ownership, interesting things happening with the island. I'm trying to pick on words carefully, but it seems like that can be shored up as a part of this process, and it seems like that's would be something that the township would be interested in if it's an outcome of this process. However, it's not something that, again, when the planning commission and myself are reviewing a project, we specifically review it through the guys in the prism of land use policy, not through the prism of access to a soccer field. That's a non-issue as far as we're concerned. And that's all I got. Thank you so much, guys.
Could you, before you leave the podium, or the lectern, could you talk about the open house on the 30th?
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so to the public and anybody that doesn't know, everyone sitting here, there are two large planning documents that are going through: a strategic plan from the Board of Trustees and a comprehensive plan through the Planning Commission's efforts to conduct master planning. I would say both of these documents have large implications on what the shared future vision of Bath Township looks like. Bath Township is, in my opinion, and the opinion of the Michigan Township Association, the Michigan Planning Association, a quickly and rapidly developing and changing township. And it is important to sometimes zoom out to that 5,000-foot view and take stock of where we've come from and where we'd like to go. To that end, on the 30th of this month, we are holding a open forum with our consultants from both the comprehensive plan and the strategic plan to get input from the public on what they think the vision for Bath Township should be. We're not trying to make these decisions in a vacuum. We are reaching out to the public. We would like as many people, industry leaders, business owners, to be a part of that as possible. Farmers, we'd like a diversity of opinions. And I would just say, if it sounds corny, but if you're not involved in these things, then it makes it hard, 5 years from now. The funny example I like to use is I get calls all the time about, why can't I have a Highland cow? I have 5 acres, I would like a Highland cow. And you can come to this meeting and tell us about that, and that might be something we write into the ordinance if there's enough support for it. So come to the meeting, please.
What time will it be?
Thank you. It is at 7 o'clock on the 30th.
Here?
Here.
It is going to be in this room.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
We will be putting flyers out in places and Facebook hopefully.
Are we calling it as a special meeting, or?
It's not a meeting, it's an event. It's just
It's gonna be an event now.
planning.
I know, but if 4 of us come and we're talking about.
I will check with
business.
legal about that.
Oh, we're not supposed to come?
I was asked not to come.
Yeah,
Oh, maybe that was just about you.
Ryan, just to clarify, you are supposed to come, so we would like.
My name's on the flyer.
We would like, yes, we would
Okay.
like you to be there. It was expressed by the consultant for your strategic plan that there's gonna be many opportunities for him to
Got it.
talk to the
Okay.
board of trustees, so that was the one body he felt, he didn't need too much input from the board. As far as all other township committees, boards, commissions, we would like you to come.
That's helpful clarity.
I was told not to come.
You would like them to come in their personal capacities to share their personal views on these things,
There
correct?
you go.
Thank you
Write
so
that
much.
down, will you please, Lizzie?
You can tell I did not prepare a statement.
Thank
Maybe
you
could have
for
a t-shirt printed.
covering
here in my
that for
personal
me.
capacity.
Real
I
quick.
appreciate that.
Miles, could I ask you a question about Park Lake Apartments? Have we heard anything at all about that, or did they?
No, we haven't, and really, we're getting to the point in terms of timing where we probably should send out a formal letter to
It was
them.
2 years, wasn't it?
What's can you give a little bit more, why?
Park Lake Apartments was going to be an additional area on Hawks Ridge, right out by,
Oh, yes, okay.
right on the corner of Webster and Park Lake Road, the northeast corner. 2
Yeah.
really big places.
When they were 6 months out, we sent them a communication, as we always do, saying, hey, you're getting to the time period where if you want to extend, now would be the time to start thinking about extending. There's your site plan approval, no communication was ever received back, nor has an extension request been received by township staff.
One thing I'd really like to see us do is, if we ever want to add on to the community center, we should see what they would think about, allowing Bath Township to purchase that property between the community center and the sidewalk or the road. I mean, there's enough room there to almost double the size of the,
Thank you for clarifying that, because I was like, there's no room.
there's a lot of room, but we don't own it. So-
Right.
So that's a thought that's been in my head for a decade, so I'm sorry, if they come around, maybe mention it to Karen, so maybe we could do something about that. It'd be like a carpe diem kind of thing, Thank you.
all for
Thanks,
your time
Miles.
tonight.
Thanks, Mouse.
Very much, that was very comprehensive.
All right, that brings us to letter B, items for action, of which we have none. And then that brings us to item 15, the superintendent's report.
Thank you again for a great meeting. I know that you probably look at the agendas and think, oh my, like, that's gonna be a long evening, but we tend to do it well, and I appreciate your engagement and involvement with questions and comments. It helps staff, really does, to move things forward on your behalf. I would like to announce that we have 2 new employees. So Therese at the police department resigned recently. She, for good reason, she wants to spend more time with her family, and she retired once, so she'd like to actually enjoy it. So we hired Sandra McIntosh, who many of you might know has been working on the new Bath Fest. Has been a good community volunteer and a member of the Parks and Recreation Committee. So she has joined us last week, seems to be doing very well. I hear good things from the police department. They're shaking their heads. So she's fit in well, and she's in her training period at this time.
She seems like a lovely person.
She does. She really does. And I think her personality will fit in well all over the township. So we're happy to have her. Today, a gentleman by the name of Jesse Sump started at our DPW as a full-time member of that team. We had the opportunity to meet him today, and he just got his first day. He just started, so we'll give him some time to get acclimated and in his new duties. But he seemed to be a pretty happy guy and was happy to be here. So that's what we like to see. So welcome to both of those employees.
His last name's Sump?
SUMP. Sump?
Will he be doing any pumping?
Sumping the pumping.
It remains to be seen.
Never
I
heard that
can't,
before.
I don't know.
But-
I know you love those jokes, though. Thank you. It keeps me on my toes. So Miles talked about the strategic open house that we're conducting. You have all been invited as well to the assessment of the fire department in your role as the Board of Trustees to give feedback on the department and what that looks like, not just today, but into the future. So that is something we're keenly interested in and moving towards. So it's there's a lot happening at the fire department right now, and we'll keep you posted as we move forward.
Are we posting that meeting?
I will talk to legal counsel about that and
Okay.
the objective of that meeting. I don't foresee you moving as a board that is saying, this is how we feel collectively. So, but I will speak to legal
Okay.
and we'll get an opinion on that as well. There is a lot going on in the township in terms of the fire department, the police department. I'm speaking regularly with the chief and the interim chief and moving those items forward with them. We are going to meet collectively with a group of employees about the capital improvement projects and take a good look at what we can put on that timeline. We all know revenue is in demand. But I would like to give the board a clear perspective, the planning commission and the board a clear perspective of the things that we have coming up, not only in sewer projects, but with buildings and vehicles and all the things that we need. So I will be meeting with staff to do some of that important work, and then having many of the staff members help us move through that process with the different areas of expertise that they have, so they'll be helping me do that as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And then, of course, we have taxes getting ready to go out. We have an election coming up, so there's a lot happening both in the office as well as in the major departments that we have. And I know like the assessor and Miles don't just complete their day jobs, but they often help me with the construction meetings with Webster Road or Chandler Road. They're involved in the engineering meetings, so there's a great deal of staff effort that goes into just regular meetings that we have here in the township. So everybody is willing to jump in and help out and share their expertise and offer their perspective. So just know that even simple meetings are well attended by usually many staff people so that we can all make sure we're being thorough on behalf of this board and on behalf of the community that we're serving. So we get in there and get it done. So if you have any questions for me, I gave you several updates this evening. I'll be sending some additional emails to you, especially on the Chandler Road project, because there was much more detail that I didn't share with you on that project, but want you to have as we move through. So please just let me know if you have any questions. My staff, I know today, the treasurer and the clerk met with the planner and talked about several items that were on the agenda tonight and had questions for him. So staff is always available to you. You don't have to go through me, but you can go to the person responsible for that topic and ask all your questions. I want you to know that we're all available to you to help you make good decisions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? And Al, I will thank Al. He's been supervising Webster Road, and I appreciate that.
I do have a blueprint, if anybody wants to see it.
You do?
From the, from the.
Where did you
county.
asked me for that. You didn't get that
Well, you have to ask and you will receive.
Somebody went to the road commission.
It'll be in my drawer if anybody wants to look at it.
from me. You're so sweet. Thanks.
I have a copy of that from.
I'll cancel my ask of them then.
Any other questions or comments for the superintendent? All right, hearing none, that'll
Thank
take
you.
us to item 16, which is public statement 2. If there are folks in the audience that would like to speak to the board about any topic, up to 3 minutes, you have an opportunity to do so. Again, step up to the lectern, introduce yourself, and have at it.
Mr. Supervisor, could I be excused from the lectern just because I know it's absolutely correct?
Yes.
Speak up.
I'd just like to thank the board this evening, those of you that voted affirmatively, for the common sense approach that you're taking to the flag policy. And the reason I say that is because because I think you've actually prevented a lot of problems for yourself in the future. It's been my experience when you say yes to one and you say no to the other, it creates a tremendous amount of turmoil in the community. If you say yes to the Boy Scouts, no to the Girl Scouts, there's probably going to be a problem. If you say yes to the Ukrainian flag and no to the Palestinian flag, there's going to be a problem. And I think you've actually done something that's going to make it solidify that this is what we're going to accept in our community. We're not going to have to debate over what particular social groups or what particular governmental groups or whatever that we're going to support, not support, and keep us in unity rather than disunity. So I really appreciate your vote tonight. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jack. Other folks want to address the board on any issue? All right, sounds like no. Thank you. Let's go to item 17, board member comments. Kate, why don't we start with you?
Sure. I really just have a question more than a comment. I've seen a lot of comments on Facebook and other social media about AT&T phone service, and I myself personally am suffering from terrible phone reception. It often goes to SOS, no data, no cellular phones. And I'm only bringing it up because I don't know if the township is able to intervene or help with AT&T, if AT&T uses our towers at all for their cell service. And also my concern is in the event of an emergency in 2025, my only phone is a cell phone, and how can I make an emergency call if I have no service in most of Bath Township, honestly, not just at home. But I was sitting in the Spags parking lot when we were filling up our gas cans, and I had no service there. And that seems like that should be a high coverage area. I wouldn't classify that as rural. So I don't know, I'm just bringing that forward to see if there's any way that the municipality can advocate for the residents on that issue. Because it doesn't sound like those of us who've called on our own to complain have been able to make any headway.
So usually we have a liaison that helps us at each company. I'll see if I can reach out and get an understanding of what is occurring and what is going to occur, and see what those answers are, because we've not had any communication, and I don't know what you as the residents have been told, but we'll see if we can get more information and.
We've just been told there's no issue.
Oh.
Everything's working fine.
I've been
And that's
told there,
clearly not the
I thought I
case.
heard somewhere, maybe I read it online, that there was a problem with one of the poles or
Oh, okay.
a tower.
Maybe somebody
or-
got a different answer.
Yeah, so
Somebody
we'll
different
just
got a
see
different
what we
answer.
can do. It's not uncommon that we would do that with BWL or
Right,
consumers. So
okay.
I think that's something that we could do without, any problem. So let us see what we can do.
Got one word to say, Verizon.
So, campaign contributions you're looking for? Anything else, Kate?
20 years.
No, I think that's it.
All right, Al?
I'd like to find out who is sending all these spam calls. I am getting 20 a day. We cancel them. They must take that number and make another number and send it right out, because we are getting tremendous amount of spam calls.
Is it for loans or what?
I don't answer them,
Your home or your cell phone?
home and cell phone.
They're all automated now. Literally, if you cancel one, it rolls immediately within milliseconds. Because I have an LLC, I've been getting business loans. I get 20 or 30 a day. So now I have been drastic, and I say only answer the ones that are in my favorites.
Yeah.
That's it. Everything
There's
else-
a do not call registry, but I don't really think it's being enforced.
Not,
Yeah, not at all.
that's all.
I don't have anything.
I've got a couple of things. I printed out and then left at my house, which is typical of me, some bills that were introduced in the state legislature that affects townships. Some of them are election bills, just things I thought we should follow, so I will send those to you via email. There's quite a few of them. I think I'm gonna pick up Ray's mantle here and say we've gotta figure out something to do with the technology. I don't know why we can't get it to work. If we need more money or something, we gotta be able to figure it out. And then lastly, with lots of due respect to my friend and colleague, Jack, I'm really disappointed in the flag policy tonight. Mostly because I feel misled by you all a year ago. You said you did not want to take a vote on flags until we had a flag policy, but it's clear you actually just didn't want to take a vote on those things. I wish you could have been more direct with me about that. It would have saved hundreds of dollars, perhaps thousands of dollars in legal fees to our legal counsel in my own time. I think in this country right now, we need leaders who will stand up for what they believe is right and perhaps take slack from the community where they disagree. And this is an opportunity that we could have done that, but instead we shut down that idea. So disappointed, and I just won't fall for that bait and switch again. Jen?
Like Karen said, tax bills will be going out the first week of July. I just want to say welcome to the new staff and welcome indeed to the police force.
Great.
I just want to make sure it was my turn next. Sometimes Brenda, she skips me, so. I would like to mirror the disenchantment with the vote on the flag policy. I just think that there should be more choice than that, given that this body is, that's what we're charged with, is making choices on behalf of the township. And also, another mirror I'd like to say is that we need to, I'm gonna keep saying it, we need to use these things. They would have been great to show the properties, you know, like they're sitting there and not being used. They're, as I recall, they were like $11,000 a piece, so that's a pretty expensive wall hanging to not be used. I can't overemphasize that enough. I'd be more than happy to volunteer my electronic expertise to assist in using, utilizing them, if, you know.
No, it's technology. It's the company that put them in, so we'll be continuing.
Well, I know, you can just hook an HDMI cable to them and hook it to my computer or phone and put stuff up there, so it's not totally their fault.
The system restarted at least 5 times while we were sitting here tonight.
Really? Interesting. Then I think you should just disconnect them and do it from a laptop. That would solve everything. But anyway, I'm prattling.
I will say, I know it's not my time to speak, but it has been a very frustrating process on behalf of the staff as well. We don't enjoy when things don't work.
Yeah.
I can assure you. Sometimes it's operator error. I think the evening that I was trying to use it was me.
Yeah.
And I'll fully admit when I just don't know what I'm doing. But staff has continued to work on it, and the message has been just make it work. And unfortunately, there are times when we can't just make it work. And I apologize for that, because I promise you, we would love nothing better than to have it work as it's intended and to have it work for you all, to be able to show it off and use it for you and the public. So it is disheartening for us that we have to continue to be embarrassed by what's not working.
There is a way you can easily circumvent the system. I mean, and just literally run it off the laptop.
I understand that.
So that's, you know,
Yeah.
easy. But anyway, thank you.
So, thank you.
Thanks, Ray. Sherry?
My Frontier's been down for 10 days, and I did understand something interesting. I have one bar on Verizon, barely. But I understand from one of the managers of Verizon that they are buying Frontier.
Well, that was pretty funny because the regulations back in 87, 88, federal regulations required Verizon to sell off what Frontier purchased.
Yeah, they used to be the same.
Well, that's what I heard from a manager of one of the biggest stores. But mine's been down, and so in my house, I have to run around and stand on the back porch and hold my phone up to get any service at all, now that I don't have Wi-Fi connection.
I should offer you my services because I'm installing a cellular booster.
All right.
Up north.
I've got a booster for my Wi-Fi, but now I have no Wi-Fi.
Must not be good enough.
But there's no, it's completely, it cuts out every minute.
Well, if you don't have any signal, you're never gonna get a
No,
cellular.
it comes on, it goes off every minute or two. So
This
it's
is why
really-
people think Bath Township is so far out there, because they can't call people or email people.
Yeah, it's like-
And we have a cell tower sitting on the township.
It's crazy.
I have no issues, and I have T-Mobile. Change. I have 5G sitting here, so sorry, guys.
Really?
I have Wi-Fi.
All right, thanks, Sherry. Anything else for the good of the cause? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned.
Who wants to go for beer?
I need dinner.
Where do you go for beer?
I go to that place, that Mexican place right by Costco. Karen? Thank you. Busy? Thank you.